It's 7 PM on June 18th, 2019, and we are going to open the Committee of Committees meeting. Would you roll call, please?
Yep. Trustee Chris Sample,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger,
Here.
Dina Simpson. Here. Jen Christensen.
Here.
Jared Doan,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Ondebany. Here. Clerk Sandy Moss, I'm here. Attorney Dan Bolin.
Here.
We do not have an engineer tonight. Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
And Park Supervisor Kenny Lamer.
Here.
Excellent. Entertain a motion for the minutes?
Oh, there is no minutes to consider. Last month was a special meeting of the village board, so it will be on the agenda next week for approval by the village board.
All right, does anybody have any questions on the water or fuel usage reports?
No.
Do not.
Then we will jump past those. Discussion of the annual fee ordinance.
No.
Does anybody have any questions on it? Is there anything anybody thinks needs to be raised, left the same?
Don't have any.
Are we gonna review the water rates before we make a decision on this?
I sent an email to Matt, and Brett and I are gonna be working with Matt, hopefully maybe the 27th. It sounds like we're gonna be talking about that a little bit, so, yeah.
This is something we can pass, and always, we don't have to just pass it in June.
I understand.
We can also come back in December or October, whenever we need
Everything,
to.
everything in the
Okay.
park
I'm fine
matches
with
up
it
for fees for
In the meantime,
cleaning
until
and...
we talk about that.
All right,
What's the changes other than I saw the, pricing for garbage for people that did not get water and sewer? I mean, what other changes are in there?
There's a few that we added for some clarification to. They're redlined, though, in the document. Your bookmarks are up on the left side of the thing. It's that little arrow on the left, down.
I can barely see it from
Yep,
here.
that. And then you have to click on the bookmark.
Different one than we,
So there was a red line change in there. You wanna go up?
I'm trying to read it.
When you're on the traffic and vehicles too, I do have to ask a question. I had a resident ask me a question and I didn't know how to answer it.
All right, we'll circle back.
Okay, thanks.
There's the red line change.
Annual fee ordinance, down, up one, up,
There
there's
you
there.
go.
There you go.
I could almost read it.
And then scroll down, I'm not sure which page it's on. It's the same one that we saw last week or the week before. I haven't made any changes since then. Oh, right there. So, we just made sure that the permits are per application submitted, so that if I deny it, or when I deny it, or if it's denied, that the next time they submit, they understand that's a new application fee. And then we did remove the water meter from there, because it's also located in a separate section. And then,
What would be
No.
reasons that they'd be denied, just out of curiosity, like just in general?
so most of our developers have, are now aware of what could cause them a denial after I've denied them. But if they submit a certificate of occupancy application prior to getting a final a final inspection.
Okay.
Or if their final inspection fails, then
So that would, that would prevent some of the other issues we've had?
yes.
Okay.
And some of our developers, I have a time frame in which I have to respond. And so if that occupancy or if the final inspection failed, I have to respond with a negative. Fergie did want to talk about the mowing cost. Yeah. Can you scroll down on this thing up here? Oh, right there. Actually, it's right there. See, for mowing, the first offense for your weeds, I think that's the right section,
250.
is $250. And then the second offense is $100. The discussion was raising that $100.
shouldn't that be backwards?
Yeah.
It should be stiffer.
Shouldn't that be backwards? I mean,
So we incur the most administrative cost on the first offense,
Yep.
because that's where I get the lien, that's where we
understood, but
invoice
this,
it,
I mean,
so.
I'm not saying we change the first offense rate, but the
Yeah.
secondary offense and the continuation should
Yeah.
be an escalating.
Yes, we agree, which is
Fine.
why, Fergie spent a lot of time recently on a particular home and was a little disturbed that we only got to charge $100 for it. So, he did ask
It should
that
be
perhaps
quicker
we
than-
look at that and increase that fee
I
amount.
believe just our hours and material costs are,
That's what the 250 was. And so, to me, maybe we just make the second offense also 250, or every offense
right,
250.
repeat offenses.
I have no issue with that, I don't think,
I prefer
yeah.
to escalate it. I mean, 250, then 300, 350, I mean, make,
Might as well go up a little bit if you're gonna escalate it.
Well,
Then maybe
how do you wanna
hopefully
word it
we
then?
wouldn't be mowing it,
correct.
would be the, I mean, that's the goal, right?
Or we just charge 250 every time we mow. I think the goal is that that's what we're charging every time we mow.
And see, I would think the goal is eventually not having to mow.
Agreed.
That is also the goal. However, like, we have a home that's currently in foreclosure.
Okay,
People have abandoned the home. It's going to be what it is, and we are gonna have to continue.
Fines are
mowing.
not a revenue generator, they're supposed to be a deterrent.
They are not, they absolutely, and so before, we mowed the first time, I actually called the foreclosure company to inform them that we would also be mowing and asked
Yeah.
them to mow, and they said they'd put a fast track on it, but we've now mowed twice.
I noticed.
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, so the limit, outer limit on what you could charge for a fine is gonna be $750 an offense.
Good.
But keep in mind the difference between fines and fees. The fine is punitive and can be up to $750 per offense. The fees, your actual costs, your administrative costs, your removal costs for, the mowing, that's separate and is what's being liened on the property.
So is everybody comfortable if we just raise it to 250 every time?
For mowing?
As a fine?
For
As
mowing.
a fine?
That's fine.
Are we recouping our fee for
I mean,
mowing?
that's what they've been getting charged anyways.
So today, that's not what they've been charged. So the person that we had to mow again today is gonna be charged $100. But, Fergie had said that we had an employee who spent many hours out there today, with 2 or 3 of our machines, several machines.
We had an employee out there with the bagger on the big zero turn, so he spent quite a bit of time out there bagging that entire yard, so we can maintain it without having to bag it from here on out. So it was a good chunk of the day.
See, that's where I'm not a fan of the flat rate, 'cause
But didn't you just say we could recoup the fee besides the fine?
Yes. Yeah, so like when I do the lien itself, I will recoup that fee on top of the fine.
Sounds good.
So the 250 is the fine, and then we have the fee for the hours on top of that?
No.
No.
It's
I wanna make sure you guys
No,
are
no.
clear, 'cause that's not what I'm hearing either.
250 is the fine, and then my fees are the
administrative filing fees.
fee that I pay at Ogle County.
I don't,
So I think what William's getting to is, can we fine them the 250 and then charge them the fees
Yes,
For
for our
mowing.
mower and our hours on top of that for each subsequent?
yes,
so the cost of all of it, of our mowing hours.
because that's,
Seven.
I saw the yard, it was horrendous,
So that is possible.
What
We
yard
have to
have
word
they?
it in here.
You can't
That's
just
how I
hit-
did it.
Yeah, so
No,
to,
you can, you can pull it down.
right on 72.
so to lien for the fees,
Right here,
there's a
kitty corner.
statutory procedure for that. For fines, that could ultimately become a judgment lien on the property should it go to circuit court and ultimately get there. That's a separate procedure, but the fines and fees, you could pursue both, and you should have both, levers at your, disposal, but they are separate.
So we can do the 250 plus
Mhm.
our fees, which includes, I'm sorry, the 250 plus our cost.
Right, but it's not like you're gonna be able to throw the 250 on the lien without going to court first.
Right, but the fees that we incur for our hours and our equipment, we can
Yes.
put on the
Okay,
lien.
so
Then why don't we
Each time.
make one
that's
flat
what,
rate?
so that's what the 250 has been the recouping of our costs. I think when we did the original annual fee ordinance, we did estimate what we thought our costs were gonna be.
And why don't we just raise up, and make a flat rate like 300, 350?
Well, again, if you put it as a fine, like Dan's saying, we have to go to court to get that put as a lien, whereas if we do it as our fees, if it's what it costs us to do it, we can put that as a lien on the property. We have to get a judgment to put the fine on the property.
But I thought the lien comes
Correct.
when they don't pay the fine.
What's that?
I thought the only time you get a lien is when they don't pay the fine.
You can get them.
We can get liens against the property.
We do a lien when they don't pay for our mowing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They don't pay the fine, then we can take a lien out on the property.
No, you're confusing
Yeah, separate the
fine
two.
and the fee.
Yeah, don't confuse fines and fees. It's really easy
So
to confuse the two, which is, the only reason why I pointed out, is that, fines to ultimately recover those unless somebody pays voluntarily, you have to go to court about it.
Yeah.
The fees that you support a judgment lien for mowing, which you do after reasonable notice, after the statutory procedure that Sandy's familiar with, you can get a lien for those, hard costs without having to go to court.
And that may be, but the way we're recouping them is when I put the lien for the fees, they come and pay, they pay the fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, I mean, if we're gonna go that route where we recoup our fees, my suggestion would be that those are done after our regular duties for the village on the overtime rate, because we can recoup the overtime versus paying somebody straight time to go mow the personal private property and then be on overtime clock doing other things. If they're not gonna maintain their property, should be last on our list as a priority, but do it on the overtime list and then recoup our overtime.
So, does anybody object if I work, one, with Dan to make sure that this is slightly more clear, and two, raise it so that it's $250, the
Plus
fine,
fees.
every time, plus fees?
Yes, I think that's,
Yeah, I think we do need to clarify so
Yes.
everybody's on the same page, yeah.
All
We
right,
actually call the mowing fees, we probably be more clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why,
Yeah.
so, I'll work with Dan on getting a little bit more clear
it's
language
kinda like,
for
what,
what's
to
there,
William's point
because-
too, is that the fine is there as a deterrent, not
Yeah.
something we necessarily wanna do.
I find that in most instances, the threat of the lien is actually more of a deterrent than the fine itself, because the realtors and, mortgage companies do not want a lien on the property. So, okay, I'll work with Dan on that and bring it back next
Okay.
week or whenever we have it ready.
Inspection services and fees. Anybody find anything else?
Can we go back to the, I think.
Oh, I'm
it was-
sorry, you had a question?
No, that's okay, the traffic and vehicles, and I'm not even sure if it's where it falls, but I had a resident ask me, and I was reading this, and I thought,
You know
well, I'm
where it
not
is,
sure.
Mm-mm. I didn't know what specifically.
I think it's the dollar amount for like the,
It's page 60.
it said something, I think it was like $750 for a fine or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I think that's what it was, I can't remember. And I'm not even looking for the fine piece of it or anything like that, but they had asked me, since obviously the weather is nice
Was it-
now and it's not pouring down rain.
Was it about parking, was it about,
It was about the vehicles that are not on-road
No.
vehicles, I think it
Oh,
was.
the off-road vehicle?
Off-road, okay, so.
There we go.
Yes, the not on-road ones, what a,
That was my baby.
okay, so.
Question.
She
Okay.
found
No, the question was, and I mean largely, and it makes sense too, they were pulling out of their driveway, and, I'm just gonna call it like a little motorcycle. I don't know what to call them,
Mini bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Dirt
seen it.
bike, whatever, but the dirt bikes are bigger, but it's like a little motorcycle, and like the kids that are on them and whatnot,
I think they're called pocket rockets.
okay. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But, so like they were backing out of the driveway, one, they're so low you can't see them, so then you're like, but is that even the golf carts, the stuff, are those allowed to be like, we've talked about this, I think, before.
They're not.
They're not, but we are, so do we do anything to enforce that? Do we not? And that's all they wanna know.
So, Dan and I really struggled when we created the off-road vehicle ordinance 4 or 5 years ago, which the issue was, how do we enforce it without a police department? And so we came to the conclusion that if somebody is allowing it on their property, that's where the fine goes. The fine goes to a property owner who's allowing it. If they're in the road or things like that, we have to call the sheriff.
Okay, so, on their property,
They gotta be riding it on the property.
Yeah, they have,
Yeah.
or allowing somebody to ride it. I think it goes to the property owner.
well, and I even remember back when, I mean, he's 18 now, but back when he was 8 and 10, we had a go-kart in the back of our,
Yeah.
yard, and we were told we couldn't use it, and I was like, oh, okay, in our fenced-in yard, so we didn't, and that was
Yeah.
fine.
But
Um,
unless you have 5 acres of land, you are not eligible for riding off-road vehicles in town, and I believe, to the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, nobody's got 5 acres in town zoned
that's
correctly.
state law, that's not
So on
ours.
their property,
Others are.
it's something that
Well,
we
state
can
law.
enforce, but if it's on the
Supersedes
road, that's the police, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
we
on
can't
road.
do
Yeah,
anything.
I'd like to get, talk about golf carts, but the only thing is people are gonna go across the road and go to the park for like moving the park and stuff like that. And I'm sure Kenny doesn't want golf carts out in the grass.
The problem is they're not allowed to cross 72.
Yeah,
They're not.
That's the reason that we've discussed and looked at golf cart ordinances in the past, but the problem is they can't legally cross 72.
and it'll cause a problem since we have our golf carts that cross 72, so.
We're,
Yeah, but I mean, it would cause a problem with the residents, 'cause if they see that, then they'd complain about that, and.
When I first
But-
moved out here, there was nothing against them. You could drive four-wheelers all over, people riding them to the trails. But then you had the people that were flying up out of the ditches in front of cars, young kids on them, and then it started causing problems, and that's, before my time here, they started making rules against them.
Jared, our golf cart is hauling employees to
Yeah, I know, I
their work site.
understand, I'm just trying to tell you, if we did, that would cause a big fight with the residents, because they see us cross.
But we do.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
I understand that, but what
Okay.
I'm trying to say, if we did legalize them, then the residents
Oh,
would
yeah,
complain.
okay, now I see what you're saying. I agree, I agree.
I think we should
Uh,
legalize.
You don't, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind legalizing just for the subdivision.
Yep.
I mean, I think that'd be great, but it comes with a lot of paperwork and license, and you don't know if they're,
Enforcement,
don't have a license or not, and,
because you're always gonna have that one person
yep,
gonna go out
one
and do
person's
something,
gonna run
and
for everybody.
and that's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate you'd have that.
And then I have another question too, so that answers it for that one, so I can get that information to him. The other one was, there was a section in there that was, it was talking about the officer, it was, strike through, and it was like a police officer, but then the other
Enforcement officer.
Enforcement, who's our enforcement officer?
You were talking about the ordinances that are several more down.
Oh,
on
am I
the
still,
track.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm not there yet?
Yep, you've moved on to his
Okay.
ordinances,
Well, then-
which Dan will have all of the answers.
Because I'm like, I don't know who that is. All right, then we'll just
Neither
wait.
do I.
Well, we
Dan
have-
will have all the
Well, we have
answers
Dan
for
here
us.
tonight.
Okay, then I'll wait.
Yeah, you're
Thank
down
you.
on the ordinances
All right.
resolution.
Super.
All right, any further?
I'm good. That
All right.
took care of it. Thank
We'll
you.
move on to, inspection services.
I attempted to do the comparison that you guys had asked me to do last week. It's very hard to compare the two together. However, I think I did a pretty good job.
Mhm.
It's in the packet. Yeah, right there.
Page 30.
Did they, confirm that these were still valid?
So I did talk to them. He didn't think that there would have been an increase, but he was going to attempt to get me the updated, review it and confirm or update the pricing. However, I needed it before Friday at noon, and that did not happen.
Probably did.
Yeah, he doesn't think it changed by much, if it changed at all.
When I was looking at them, the BNF, I just thought that unless, some of them, they seem so much higher, like this or a minimum of, it just, I don't know. And maybe that's because of where they're from possibly, and maybe that's because of what service we actually get, but I thought they were quite high.
What do they mean by per bank?
Elevator bank.
For elevator bank,
Okay.
We got a lot of those.
we do not, but they charge the same as Casper anyway.
Brain elevator?
Surprisingly, I didn't think Casper was certified.
I
Because he's
don't,
also charging for sprinkler head, and he's not
yes.
certified to review sprinkler
Yes,
systems.
and you'll see that, DNF is also qualified to do the life safety and the fire inspections that we currently have to send out elsewhere.
So he charges for something he's not able to do?
I don't know.
Or,
Well,
I don't-
no, it
He may
depends.
sub it out.
If
You
it's
don't know what he
residential
does.
or
well, that's what I'm asking.
commercial.
I don't know what he does.
He can probably do residential, because that's just a plumbing inspection.
So, when you look at the minimum cost though, Dina, just keep in mind that the breakdown actually is not that far off. When you break it down by square foot.
Even on the ones when he kept on doing a minimum of, where, it looked like Casper had nothing, and then it said on his a minimum of $200, or, I don't know.
Yeah, but wasn't he getting it for every visit though?
No.
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 The pool inspections are, oh, that's in-ground, never mind.
Oh, so for example, down on the residential permit fees for the new one, actually we have cursors right now. Casper charges 25 cents a square foot. They charge $365 up to 3,200 square feet. When you break that down on a 3,200 square foot house, that's just shy of 20 cents a square foot, so they're actually on the lower end. I mean, it'll probably end up being closer to Casper when you put in the square footage of the homes we're actually building in our town. That's why I said, I think on some they're higher and on some they're lower, that's why,
Can you really tell? I mean, like the pool inspection fee for in-ground is
Yeah.
50 for Casper, 450, but it's Casper coming back and then charging an hour later
So,
at $35.
Mhm.
So in reality,
Right.
450 a
Right.
flat
Yeah,
rate
but
could
in-ground
actually
pool,
be
you're gonna have
less.
multiple inspections.
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you?
yeah, so the in-ground pool fee is gonna be the $25 permit fee plus all of his,
Above. That's 25 is above.
I'm sorry,
In-ground's 50.
the 50, plus he's gonna charge an hour or a breakdown on the amount of visits that he has to do.
Sure. $35 an hour.
Yep, and $35 a visit.
Yeah, all right.
So even though it looks like it's 50, it's not really 50. He does the same calculations for decks and fences and patios. It's that flat fee plus each visit. I'm happy to get more quotes if somebody's got suggestions where to go, or if somebody wants to do
I would
this.
have no idea.
Was there something else where it says fire suppression detection systems, it says see proposal, was there something else that came with?
Yeah, there's a massive breakdown.
Oh, never mind.
And the proposal's also in the packet again.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know.
They must be somewhat competitive, though, if they're servicing enough villages in our area.
Yeah, I assume so.
And we can always look for other places, other businesses we can do, other individuals.
I do.
I like the idea of business better.
I do
Than a person.
Yeah, so right now when Casper's out of town for vacation, we don't do permits that week.
And this
Whereas-
company does both, and I like that
Yeah,
better than,
I did get wind of one more company that does small towns, however, I don't know that they come this far west. I can call and ask.
Give 'em a ring, we'll find out.
Alright. Let me know if you guys want anything else in the board packet.
Thank you for doing the side-by-side.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Discussion on draft ordinance regarding retail sale or delivery of alcoholic liquors.
So this is an ordinance we prepared in response, I guess there's been some interest in some temporary liquor, licenses in the village.
Oh,
For what?
hold on, I'm gonna preface real quick.
Sandy Moss, village clerk.
We used to have a special event permit for liquor licenses that for example, Weekend in the Park had them. Somewhere along the way, we lost that in the ordinances, but it still exists in my application. Well, now we have somebody asking for it again, or asking to be able to apply for it. The same event that we had last year, they just want to sell alcohol this year, in addition. So, is it public knowledge? Okay, so anyway, there's an event that wants to come, they've been here before, they want to sell alcohol this year. So I realized that we have an error. I don't even have a one-day permit or a special use or anything else. And so I talked to Rick, and now go Dan.
So this is a draft ordinance, obviously. Liquor licensing is a local control issue, so you have a great deal of flexibility in how you structure your temporary liquor license ordinance. What we've proposed here is just has some of the common features, allowing a one-time license and then an annual license that allows multiple events, and having it in a closed area, and all the other common things that you would come to expect with kind of temporary events and festivals that you might have seen in other communities. So if you have any comments about how the temporary license is set up or structured, you have some flexibility in how that, to make that work for you. Happy to accept any comments or questions that you have about that. While we were reviewing your liquor code, a couple of housekeeping items. There's some interest in having liquor sales and delivery on village property, and this, that's generally prohibited in the Liquor Control Act. This would, without an ordinance, and so this ordinance would allow that, the liquor, commissioner to allow, those kinds of sales. Same with, there's a recent amendment to the Liquor Control Act allowing exemptions for, licenses, to be issued near schools and, churches and other uses. So this gives, you need to adopt an ordinance to give the liquor commissioner that power, and this ordinance would do that. And the Liquor Control Act was also recently amended to, require Bassett training, alcohol service training for alcohol servers, and so these amendments address that as well. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, I have a couple. if that's
Mhm.
okay. So on the liquor piece with the, within 100 feet of a, school or church, just out of curiosity, since we have, and I don't even know, now that I'm saying this, is probably village city limits or no, but, so fathers and sons, they purchase and they sell, and then next door, Fritz allows Grace Fellowship Church to do events there. Is that within 100 feet? Does that apply to this? Does that not apply to this?
That's beyond 100 feet.
It's a structure, it's not a temporary.
So this is all temporary?
Is that all put
No.
temporary?
I didn't take that as all
That's what I was
temporary.
thinking.
Oh, the temporary church
The 100
services?
feet.
The
No.
100 feet. That, the
No,
100
this-
feet is for all liquor licenses.
Oh, yeah, that's for all liquor licenses. The 100, and that comes out of the Liquor Control Act. And what used to happen, in order for a liquor license to get issued like that, there's a long list of exemptions in the act, and you used to have to get an act of the General Assembly passed in order to get an exemption granted, and that finally changed where they gave that power to local liquor commissioners. To answer your question about the daycares aren't considered schools for purposes of the act.
No, there's a church
There's a
next door.
church
There's a church there, too.
I believe,
Behind the
I believe the
daycare.
business and the original liquor license was there first.
Outside
Yes.
of the village, though. And William's right, the original liquor license.
church
was
came in
there
second.
first. The church came second.
Sure, we'd have to look at the facts, I don't, it
I'd be
probably
curious
sounds
about that.
a little fact
Okay.
dependent.
And then the other thing was, obviously, then I was curious who the commissioner was.
Rick.
Okay. And then the next thing was on the piece you said, Dan, about the, I get the whole idea of having like a temporary event license and whatnot, and delivering it and whatnot, but the sales on village property, are we talking like, oh, never mind, I just answered my own question out loud. I got it.
Haven't we done that before? Haven't there been
We
sales,
have.
alcoholic sales done?
There have weekend in the
I
park.
just answered my own question, yeah, okay.
Not in like 10 years.
No,
Yeah.
well, I remember it from a long time ago. They had a band or something.
Yeah.
Weekend in the park.
A beer garden, all right.
Yep.
So then if there were another event, it's not about selling it here on property, it's about literally, once it's delivered, they want to sell it to the customers or whoever's
They want-
attending the event.
They want to sell it on village property. The parks are considered village property.
Yep, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Are there any other questions on this? Otherwise, I'll stick it on the consent agenda for next week.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, me.
Anybody have any questions on the FOIA report? We can save that.
There's, I haven't had any
Still,
FOIAs
yeah.
since
It's amazing.
several months, so.
Mm, shocker.
I guess my question is, do you want me to continue putting it in the packet if I haven't received any?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, maybe if you do get them, I mean, if you don't, we know it's the same.
It is the same.
Sorry, did you want me to?
But when you
put
get a
FOIA
new one,
request?
can you put it in there? I don't think it's,
I can make one to change it.
Yeah, that's fine, I can stick them in there.
matter
It's not a
who it
big
is,
deal.
when there's a new
I-
one.
Just update the report, keep it in there.
That's
Might
fine.
anyway.
And then 116 Prairie Moon, can you actually go the one in the packet first?
No.
We are back to the same scenario as last week, different home. Yeah.
Can we go
Right,
back
that
to
one.
the inspection thing first and answer that one before we move on to this? Because I'm tired of having this conversation.
No,
have to remind me.
So somebody
So,
to
if you scroll down.
build a fence.
So the blue area there is an easement, the pink is the existing fence from their neighbor, and they would like to put the fence where the yellow is, which means they need permission to go across that utility easement at the back of the lot. There is utilities back there with utility boxes. However, they're asking for the 5 feet on this one to connect to their neighbors.
Right here.
Yep. So they're only putting a fence where the yellow is, the neighbors have pretty much covered the rest of their yard.
So is there a fence in the back?
There is, where the pink line is.
And whose fence is that? The people behind them?
Yes. Yes. The two people behind him, actually, right there, and both of those with pools have fences.
The utilities need to get in there?
One of those, I think, has a cutout for the utilities right now.
I flipped mine around. Yours is upside
No.
down.
Water?
It's a utility easement with utility boxes.
So
And
like
John,
Probably
the
just
map
phone.
is
your
facing the
cable, your
door.
phone.
I know, but I flipped it up down so
the house is
Cable, electric, and gas, pretty much,
I
the
wanted the
bills
house
went
in
out in front of the houses.
Is that the front?
So if
Well, that
you,
was part of our-
if there's no
Yeah.
objection, I can offer him the same.
The same standard response.
Okay, I just need to make sure you guys are okay with that.
I'm not. But what do we do?
Can't go back.
You have
Correct.
to, yeah.
We wait for the fences to rot, and then we deal with it then.
Well, there's lots of them already.
Can I ask a question though, when you went back to the pools? So, we are supposed to have fences around pools, correct? Or no?
Yeah.
That's not an obligation anymore?
As long, I think they have
48 inches.
4, yeah.
48 inches?
48 inches, and your pumps need to be so many feet away from the side of the pool.
And the ladder has to be removed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or locked?
But if you have a deck around it, then has to be some way to stop you going from the patio door to the pool. Has to be a gate that self-latches, opens and closes on its own, and
All right.
You can tell we've done ordinance enforcement before.
It was a
I'm sorry.
redundant, it was a redundant.
We've all been there at one point or another.
If we, wait for them to rot, and they don't need a permit to
They
They
do.
do?
I talked to Jared. They need a
But
permit.
then they'll say, well, my neighbor's got a fence that sticks 5 foot through the easement.
Uh,
That's newer that we can connect it.
And Casper said if there's an existing fence there where your fence rots, you do not have to have a permit.
That's not
And that's
accurate.
one problem that I have with Casper, though. I mean,
That's not
building
accurate. They
inspector.
have to have a fence permit.
Is,
All these fences
I-
going to utility lines, and so
Well,
it's
then
fine.
we need
That's why we need.
clarified with Casper, so he's not telling people the
Well,
wrong thing.
That's why, unfortunately, I think we discussed the other week, I now receive all permits before they go to Casper, so I can double check the lines.
You have direction?
Yep, that's all I needed. Oh, hold on now.
Anything further?
Yes, my list's not on the agenda. Don't forget, we are supposed to be passing our closed session review ordinance, or resolutions next week. However, one person has attempted to see me and we had a mix up on timing, and one person has seen me and nobody else has. So all the trustees need to make time to come see me. You need to schedule a time to come meet with me in my office to review closed session minutes, please. And then while I was gone, there was a discussion on the mowing of the detention pond on Junction Way. When I was gone last month, you guys
Mhm.
started talking about it. So I went back into the minutes because I knew that there had been, a previous discussion. And in May of 17, we actually had a discussion on it. And, it said that the board discussed continuing to mow Lot 2 of the Stenstrom development until the problems with the lift station on that property are corrected. After the lift station problems are corrected, the village will send a letter to the property owner asking them to maintain the property. It then goes on to discuss other properties. I talked to Fergie and he said that the lift station problems have been corrected.
It's gone.
It's gone, eliminated.
correct?
No, the lift station.
No, there's still pieces of it underneath. We had developed a sinkhole because I don't know if it was removed properly, but you have concrete chunks that have caused voids and everything else under there. So we filled it with sand and flowable fill to stop the sinkholes, because we didn't know what was going on. So it's
Is
not
it stable
completely
now?
removed. It seems to be. It seems to be holding up fine.
We
So
should
yes.
send them the letter and
All right, are you guys okay with sending the letter then?
Yep.
All right, then I will
Stop
prepare
maintaining
one. That's all I had.
Thank you for looking that up.
No problem. Don't worry, when I was watching the video, I'm like, I have the answer. Oh my God.
Now you know why I fought for it. Oh, yep?
That's all I got.
Brenda?
I have nothing tonight.
Excellent. Jen?
So I've been working with Jess on trying to, and Sandy on trying to bring another event to our town. And, I've looked into a couple other municipalities that are doing it, and it's like a chalk walk or chalk in the park, something like that. Belvedere's has turned theirs into Paint on State, which is part of their Heritage Festival, and that is coming up in 2 weeks. And I've been in contact with them, but they're so busy getting stuff together, where they mark out like 4x4 sections, and then people pay there to get, like, they get a paint, and they can paint some type of, whatever they wanna do in their 4x4 section, little kids, whatever. So I was looking into trying to do something out here, either on the path or parking lot or something, for sometime either August or September, that people can, sign up and come do. Still kinda working out how it's gonna work, but as if anybody has any input or any questions.
Don't we have football around September and August?
Yes.
I'd do the little park, just to,
Well,
Vote a little
it's
more.
just, I'm trying to,
but I like the concept.
cause what I've gotten back and forth with the one, Lady Lauren from Belvedere's, like I said, I wanna do it on a much smaller scale, cause they close off their one part of State Street, and they do it, is how, cause I said, if we're small, and if we're gonna use a bike path or something, cause you don't know how many people are gonna come out, or kids, or whatever, just how they kinda handle stuff. But we're still kinda working things out, but I kinda would like to get it set so we can start advertising if we put it in the, PowerPoint before our movie and for the 3rd and stuff like that, so we're kinda, but their communities are finally starting to get back to me, so.
Do they judge, like, who does the best one and stuff like that?
Well, see, that's what they do, like Belvedere's, theirs is huge, and they charge
Yeah.
like $5 a square, which I think I'm just gonna try and just buy chalk and just give it to people and let them, to see how it goes over. And I had talked to Aslan and thought about slowly just kinda introducing the chalk for kids to do during the farmer's market, but since I don't have details yet, I don't wanna, advertise, whatever, just
Yeah.
so, to see if we wanna do a full-fledged event itself, or just have it as an event during a farmer's market. But if that was the case, it needs to get done before school starts, 'cause I think it would be so much better before school starts, so. So that's kinda where I'm at with that right now.
Actually sounds like fun.
The sidewalk right down Lincoln would be good.
Well, we were thinking about that too, and then if it got too big, we thought if we could shut down Park from Lincoln West this way in that one section, 'cause that way they could still get around to the
You mean
parking lot.
Lincoln at
Lincoln,
Park.
yeah,
Lincoln
whatever.
at Park, not Park at Lincoln.
That little bit, and if we had so much interest that we could, mark off so many seat sections, and then that way they could still get to where they need to be in the park and have that road, so. That's kind of things I'm still trying to figure out, but. And then we have our movie in the park on July 3rd. Excuse me, so. What? The fireworks are before, and the movie's following that.
Do we make that date for the movie?
I'm not definitely yet, no.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, William?
There is the resolution for the agreement between Scandia and the village for their portion of, the water main that they're wanting. They've already signed their agreement, so it's sitting on us
Awesome.
to pass, so.
I saw the amount,
That's
that was
good.
good.
I'll put it on the consent agenda.
Any
The
oppo-
office
anybody
says
opposed?
invoice them, so.
Anybody with any questions, or we can move forward with putting it on the agenda?
Not at all.
Good. Anything further?
I don't believe, yes, I do.
I don't
I had a call today from a lady up Junction Road. She was inquiring about, our business grants, and I'll never pronounce this right, Esquitarian,
Equestrian?
That's it, whatever she said.
Equestrian.
Equestrian.
Horses.
Yeah.
Horses.
Yes, that stuff. She has, runs a business there, and she was inquiring about a grant. She's moved from the state line down here and brought some of her business with her, however, she's trying to expand. She is in the village limits, they are on 5 acres, they are zoned ag, everything seems to be legit for them to continue operating that business, but I told her I'd float the idea to the board and, get back to her. She needs assistance in preparing part of the land that they own to do the riding and the training. I said typically what we'll have them do is come to the board with the business plan and a model, make their sales pitch and kind of pretty specific on what they want. But I said I'd feel the board out tonight and get back to her.
So,
Right.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. You first.
Okay, thanks. So is she talking about like writing lessons and stuff like that for the community coming in and, or anybody
Anybody,
coming in and
yep.
doing that? Is it gonna be like just general, or is it gonna be like therapy, writing, or anything like that?
I think just general,
Okay,
to my knowledge. I'm not aware of any,
specialized, okay,
but I can't say for sure.
okay.
Does that $25,000 grant renew every year?
Yeah, we budget it every year, yeah. Typically, I think we try to do a matching grant. The only downside here is, like the Fitness Junction, there was materials assigned to that were tangible in case he defaulted. I don't know how we could recover.
Horse?
She already has a horse, they're hers.
The arena.
She
yeah.
she's talking ag lime, gravel, and just
The
base
arena.
material in the ground.
Mhm.
I don't know how we would recover that.
Did Fitness Junction come and make a presentation?
Yeah,
Well, then I would, just as a suggestion, require her to do the same.
Right, you
I
could ask, you
informed
could ask her to present what she's looking for from the village, and then what, I guess it's kinda like Fitness Junction, is we asked them then what they were gonna do in turn for the residents of the village to, help offset that a little bit,
Right.
and that's, I guess, the biggest thing, is what service are they gonna provide to the village? If this is just to give them money to start a business, well, let's see what they present.
Didn't that go away though,
What's that?
for fitness? Didn't they, what they were gonna offer the village residents, didn't that go away?
What
The
do you mean?
discount?
their discounts?
Yeah. Wasn't it a discount they were gonna offer?
It was-
You can
it
pretty
was-
much go in there, and I mean, you can, seriously, if you walk in and you ask them that, hey, I'm a member of the village community, whatever, can I still get that discount? They would still offer it to you.
No, there was an early incentive.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, but I thought it went away. I thought they.
It did.
They did
It
after a certain
did,
point in
it
time,
did, but they're that legit, they will still
Mhm.
offer you, they will, so.
But, I mean, our agreement with them is that we can surplus their equipment to
Equipment.
recover our,
No, I thought the discount they were gonna give you was a fee that they ended up dropping themselves, not that they dropped the
It-
discount. They
it was
dropped
the,
entire fee.
it was the enrollment
Which made
fee.
it,
There was no enrollment fees.
right,
And
which
Right.
kinda made
Or
it
something like that.
irrelevant what they offered, because that, they were gonna waive the enrollment fee for village members, right? Actually, people who lived in Davis Junction, not suppose anybody else, but then they dropped it altogether, which kinda made it irrelevant. Never mind, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
That's all.
Okay. Jared?
Last week, Frank Villa had his people out there mowing Plat 10, and it was so high, it got to be a mess, and there was pieces sticking up. Frank asked me if we could spray, like weed killer out there for Plat 10, but the only thing is, if we get close to houses and overspray, it'd kill people's yards. So what about the lots that are away from the houses?
He's wanna spray vegetation killer?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good
I don't
idea
think
either,
so.
though.
And you'll have erosion, you'll lose
Yeah.
soil.
Yeah.
That would be my concern.
That's what I was thinking. But Victor, the guy that mows, said it just, because he had to go back over some lots because it was still sticking out.
Because they wait 3 months.
And Victor said they need to mow at least like 4 times a year. But Frank doesn't wanna pay that much. He just wants to mow twice a year.
Well, then maybe we stay on top of Frank and send him friendly letters.
I don't wanna say
You mow more
So
frequently,
that
you
we
won't
can
have
prove
that
Victor
problem.
right.
Windy or something like that, and we're gonna be.
Because they had to go back
I'm
through
happy to
lots
help
and
Victor.
If he's,
some of them that they had mowed,
Who's
they had to go
Victor?
back through. and-
if he
Yeah.
allows that to get 10, 12 inches tall and then sprays it, that is a huge fire hazard.
Getting that
Yeah.
stuff is 3 feet high. I mean, I have.
It's his fault he didn't mow on time. We're not gonna, I say no. Can't, I mean, just because he only wants to mow twice a year, that's not our problem. It's his property he has to maintain.
Right, and it's just a problem he's gonna have he's gonna have to mow it.
Build on, build them.
Yeah, right. They make mowers for taking that stuff down.
No, sir.
That's it.
All right. John?
Ken, could you, talk about the basketball court stuff?
I don't know if anybody's been on them in a while, and if I recall, I think it was 3 years ago, we kind of brought up discussion on, you know, the surface of the basketball court's falling apart, and they've degraded that much more since. Got big cracks in them, you know, dark spots, obviously the coloring's wearing off, we got weeds starting to come up through them and such, so, I have a proposal for a company to come out, and they will basically crack fill, level, any uneven surfaces, grind it back down, basically re-epoxy everything, recolor, restripe everything, and just basically renew the whole surface. I did send a couple pictures today. I don't know if you can throw those.
I did not receive any. Did you copy me on the email?
I sure did, and it's
Rick,
probably
did you
sitting in my
receive an email?
outbox and Outlook, of course, so,
Okay, we did not receive your photos.
I don't. I'll make sure you're using my new email. If it's in my old email, I can check.
I went to,
No, it probably didn't go through. Kenny's been having some emails.
Yeah, I've had the same email issues.
so here, I'll just pass my phone around with a picture, so, how about that? That works.
Hey, Kenny, can you text them to me real quick?
Yeah, I
I
can
can get
do
them on
that.
the screen.
Hang tight 1 sec.
I have a million from Herb, none from you.
Aware, I mean. if it's
And,
budgeted
yeah,
for, I think we're all,
we need it.
yeah, I remember the
That's
conversation.
why I wanted it on.
I tell you, we need it. And the longer we wait, the worse it's gonna get, and then you're gonna be tearing the whole thing up.
See if that goes through.
Hmm?
Okay, they're sent. See if you get them here
I got 'em.
quickly. Okay.
Give me a second to get them to Rick. You can talk about your lovely quote, though.
Pardon me?
You can
quote-
talk about your quote.
Yeah, so the quote was for just over $13,000, to basically come in and redo everything. There might be an additional cost in there, talking to the company, depending on the weather, how much leveler they have to use and how long it might take to cure for traffic. I may have to put temporary fencing around it to keep, people out of it. So, we might be able to use snow fence, I might have to rent chain link, I might not have to rent anything, but that would basically come out of a line of my equipment rental on that, so to speak. So I guess, if we were to decide to go forward with this, we'd have to maybe discuss color options. There's been some chatter about possibly renewing the nets and putting in the newer style where they're adjustable height for younger kids and, the better backboards, which I don't have money budgeted for that purpose this year as of now, which I think we can go back after the fact and, you know, rethink that and maybe next year allocate funds for doing that, or I can sit down with Brenda and John and see what we have and, you know, for other improvements we were talking about this year with it, so.
Help me out with color options of,
I
like,
think it's green and.
So right now, it's kinda like a green and a
we wouldn't just.
reddish
But it's-
tan, so we could go to blue and white, I mean, there's all, you know,
I'm just,
different colors and whatever, you know, I think that the colors that they had were
It's fine.
pretty consistent with parks in the early 2000s and stuff. A lot of people are going to blues and, you know, other colors right now and stuff, but I'm sure there's a giant palette worth of any colors where you guys can decide.
I would fall in that, I do not care what color it is.
But
Category.
the cracks are getting really bad. Some of them are almost an inch wide now, so it is definitely, you know, even a trip hazard, you know, if kids are even running across it and everything, it's getting to the point where the asphalt now, with all those big cracks, we can't go through with a normal crack filler like they do on the roads. They use a special, you know, stuff for playing surfaces. So now if they start getting, you know, the water in the winter and the freeze, it's gonna start buckling all the asphalt and it's just gonna
Someone's gonna hurt themselves.
turn into a pretty big disaster.
I'm all for it if we're, I mean, it needs to be done.
Did you get them, Sandy, or no?
I got
She
them.
did, but they're not here yet.
I sent them to, him
That
on,
was great.
I sent them on 2 different formats.
Quit it.
cost more for Pacific Color or no?
No.
So you do the court this year and the backboards next year, is that the idea?
Yeah, I believe we can do that. I wasn't really planning on doing the backboards. They're old, they're the old style metal ones. They're not regulation size by any means. We didn't really allocate the funds purposely for that. There might be money for, in the budget for other things that we might not be able to do this year that might be able to be allocated to possibly maybe upgrade 2 of them in the process. We have 4 backboards out there right now.
You didn't happen to get a quote, did you?
For the backboards?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, roughly, I looked online at one of our suppliers, and they're approximately $3,500 each, yes. Yeah.
Those must be really good ones.
And they will crank down and adjust, but they're basically industrial. They are the plexiglass or acrylic backboards, but they're half-inch thick, so, like, rocks aren't gonna shatter them instantly. They got heavy-duty rims on them and springs if kids are hanging from them, and, 6-inch posts and, really beefed up struts holding the backboards on and such. They're commercial grade, obviously.
You'd have to be like Shaq to shatter it.
Yeah.
Well, don't
Don't
second
encourage
guess
it.
yourself.
There you go.
Yep. They'll come through, don't worry, when you move on to the next topic.
Do you have anything further?
No,
We
sir.
can always come back when the pictures show up.
Yeah, sure.
If they don't show up, we'll just ignore them.
Okay.
It's hard to say with a straight face.
John's up for this next one.
Well, the one thing that wasn't on the agenda is the topic of how often or what was the frequency of sealing the bike path, and I believe we put that on a 5-year round. So if anyone likes it to look a little bit better, we would have to do it more frequently. We spent about $35,000 2 years ago.
27.
$27,000 2 years ago to seal the bike path in the park. So it's something we're trying to do every 5 years. Obviously, we're gonna spray the weeds and fill the cracks, but
Wasn't that more than just the bike path?
That was including the parking lots.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was.
but it's all on the same,
Mm-hmm.
Rotation.
unless somebody thinks it should be more frequently. But that's Jared had asked why we, with how often, what the frequency was, and that's why, it's not, by the end of that 5th year, it's definitely gonna need it, but that's just where we put it, so. Unless there was an objection to doing it sooner, we'll just leave it that way.
I think it depends
What's the
on
life
where and
expectancy of the bike path?
Bless you.
I think a lot of it depends on its wear. Obviously, right now, the crowns wear out really fast because when we're snow blowing, and scraping snow in the wintertime, the pads are crowned and we're just getting that center section, so the center of it takes a real beating with the snow blower and the bucket on like the tool cat and the skid loader and stuff. I think a lot of it's gonna depend on the condition of it. It's been sealed so many times over the years, it's kinda like a driveway. It's not really porous anymore, so you just get a thin layer and it flakes off pretty easy and wears out. It's not like down in the aggregates or anything else anymore. Ultimately, sections of the path are gonna have to start, we're gonna need to look forward and start allocating money and slowly redo parts of the path. As we are going up Junction Road right now, in time, we're gonna have to do it. It's gonna be a expensive project if we were to do everything at once. I think, a rough estimate right now, I was gonna do the math on the footage today, didn't get around to it, but they're talking about $80 a foot for the width, for an 8-foot wide path we have out there. And we have a mile and a half almost, so it's,
8 foot wide?
yeah,
That's for asphalt.
yeah.
It's only like 4 now, right?
Wide?
Yeah.
No, I believe we're 8 foot wide. It was 60
6
a foot for 6 foot wide and 80 a foot for
It's
for
more than
8 foot
4.
wide.
Not 8 foot wide.
Cause we're running a 72-inch snow blower down at Chris, so,
Wide enough to drive the trucks across.
I thought 72-inch went side to side on it, though.
no, we have a little bit of room on both sides, so it might not quite be 8 feet, but it's pretty
Between
close
6
to
and
it.
8 feet, depending on where you're at.
So, it might be 6 feet, some spots 8 feet. I think it's wider, 'cause we're 6 feet going down Junction, I know we're wider in the park up here, so. So we're between $60 and $80 a foot to start replacing it. And that would be with thicker asphalt. So in the future, this is, on the radar to start doing sections hopefully wisely, coinciding with projects possibly going on, so we're not, you know, ruining new asphalt that we're putting in.
Is that it?
Thanks.
The War Memorial, one of the things that came up, I'm gonna be bringing some veterans out, about 21, maybe a little bit more than that, might have to make 2 different bus trips. These are people who are in nursing homes, assisted living communities and stuff, who did serve our country, and, different places I work at have expressed interest in seeing the Veteran Memorial, the War Memorials, wherever they are, regardless of what county. So I think this is a good opportunity for one, to get some exposure to our Veterans Memorial. And then the second thing that came up is, do we have anything? So when all these people come out, and we grab a photo in front of the Veterans Memorial, something we could give them to remember their visit. I mean, obviously, these are people who have served our country, and it would be nice to maybe just take the photo, and if we have 30 people come out, we know where the 30 pictures go, and we spend $30-40 on a nice 8x10 or whatever, and throw it in a frame. But I'd like to have something that gives a little bit of the history, when it was built, how it was conceived, you know, things like that. And, do we have anything?
Do we still have the pamphlets from when it was?
Because that's all I'm really...
Brenda does.
I would have those, yeah.
Okay, that's all we
I
would...
have a whole folder of them,
The pamphlets
and
from
history of the original ones.
I mean, are they professionally printed, or are they just, I mean, don't take that...
Very professionally printed.
Oh, we had them done.
Well, you-
When do you plan on doing this?
July 12th is my first
Okay.
trip. Tentatively. It obviously depends on how everybody's feeling that day. and-
Wrong input.
So if William was available, or any
We're gonna go to
veterans
the-
were available to come out, that
Hold
would
on.
be... Yeah, I just if you can be available. About 11 o'clock.
Say the date again, July 12th?
About 11.
Oh,
Tentative, I mean, it is scheduled for the 12th, but obviously things
And
can...
about how many?
If we made 2 trips, at this time, 21. We only
There
can
you go.
haul about 12 on each bus, so...
it's on my phone.
Chromecasted.
But yeah, Brenda, if you have that, that'd be great. It'd be something to give them to maybe do the photo as well, so.
See what I have in my folder.
I just think it's good
Okay, we can make
exposure,
copies.
and,
I have
I
we
have
need
history
to.
of stuff, every...
I just think it's good exposure to start putting trips together and bringing people out. And then, Kenny and I had talked about, we're just gonna feed them a hot dog and, water or something like that, just to show our appreciation for their time served and what they've done for our country, so. Unless somebody objects to giving out some hot dogs or stuff, but.
No.
And I reserved the pavilion that day as well, just so we have somewhere to sit.
Oh,
And there will be people with that will need special assistance, so anybody who wants to come out just to help to move wheelchairs or help with, because there are some disabled,
What day was that?
July 12th,
What time?
11-ish, we'll probably leave, should be here around 11. There are special needs with some of these veterans that are coming, so.
Here at 11. Here at 11?
Yeah, tentatively, yeah,
Alright.
give or take. Not on an accountant's schedule, we're just kind of flexible. Yeah, our goal is 11, but sometimes things happen with people with special needs.
We did get Kenny's photos on this one.
Oh, there we go, yep.
So I think that's kind of self-explanatory on how bad it has really gotten.
Yeah, weeds
The
are big
stains,
deal.
the cracks, the weeds, and we've been spraying the weeds, but
Put some Cheerios in there.
it's hard to see in the
Sorry.
photos, but some of those cracks, like I said, are about an inch wide. So you could, kids running across can definitely catch their shoes on it and trip and fall, and as you can see, the surface it's stained, it's wore off, it's bad.
I think as soon as you get that nice and fixed, it's a good spot for a hockey rink.
If we had lights, it'd be great.
We turned one
Put
up
the rink
into a
on in the
tennis court.
wintertime, but we don't have lights.
Ambient light.
Look at that. That's how that worked.
That worked good, thanks.
That's all I have, Rick,
All right,
and thank you, everyone.
Chris?
Brett's gonna go first.
Okay, so we'll start with Edson Road. I've got to look at a couple of quotes that I just received. I got to question one of them. It's like crazy cheap, so I don't know if they measured the exact, amount up there. But anyway, we had a section of Edson Road, our section of Edson Road, about 10 feet wide, about 80 foot long, that this spring, actually, the Edson Road is kind of built on dirt, so a bunch of the mud started to pump up in the one lane, so we had to core that out. We put in a breaker run and stone and got it all prepped and ready. We will have to pave that. That section is getting, chip sealed this year. That's part of our workload that we have coming, so I have to get that paved. I've got 2 quotes right now, but I've got to call one of the contractors because I think they might have missed something, but, so I may have to come back, get board approval, may not, I don't know yet, it might be under my limit, we'll see. So anyway, that's Edson Road. If you guys drive up there, you'll see the giant gravel patch,
What's the higher quote? How much is the higher quote?
about 4,300.
All right.
And then, Rick, could we go ahead and bring up Pacific Avenue, please? Let's see if I can show
Right,
you.
it isn't my Jeep, that's Dan's Honda truck.
Oh, okay. We have, I don't know if you can see it here. Right here, this is our lift station, so this is Pacific Avenue to the east. Right here, this is where our concrete, the superhighway we call it, comes down through here. These are the flared-in sections, the pipe that's going underneath Pacific Avenue, that drains the storm water, then out across the tracks. We developed a sinkhole here a few weeks ago on the north side of Pacific Avenue. So we dug down, and that's a lateral, that's 2 runs of elliptical concrete pipe running across there. We dug down on the west side of the pipe, and so what you have is you have the flared-in section that's going into the concrete spillway, and then you have your first section of pipe. What is going on is the flared-in section and the next section of pipe has actually pulled away from the other sections of pipe. So you can stick your arm in there. So that is where the sinkhole, all the gravel, the road, everything is washing down in there. I've got one price on removing the flare, removing that first section of pipe, and redoing the bedding underneath, and then resetting them if they're in good shape, if they're not broken. If they're broken, we might have to replace pipe. I'm waiting on a second price. The contractor has not called me back or emailed me yet. The other option, I don't know if we can do it or not, is typically we can excavate that area, and we can form up and pour a concrete collar around that hole. The problem is these are elliptical pipes, so there's a good chance they are literally side by side to where I cannot get in between the two and form and pour the collar on the other side. So we're gonna do a little more homework on this, see what we can figure out, and then, but worst case scenario is we are going to have to, excavate that. We have to cut the concrete spillway down there, pull these pipe out, determine if they're broken, if they're in good shape, and then redo the bedding underneath, because it appears like they're actually settling and twisting. Our equipment is not big enough to do that job. We cannot pick those pipe.
What would cause that to separate like that?
It's hard to say. If water's getting down in there, it could be age. I mean, those are old. Were the pipe all the way home when they were installed? There's a lot of things that could come into play there. So I just want to give everybody a heads up. We're still working on that, getting prices, determining what we can do. So.
Not an immediate thing though, right? We don't have to do it right today.
No, we did a temporary patch on what we could get to. We bricked and mortared, and did a temporary patch to block the hole, but that's not going to solve our problem. So it'll get us by till we kind of slow down with a few other things. We've started crack filling, as a matter of fact, today, so that's gonna take up about a month of our time. So.
It's an old photo.
Just wanted to give everybody a heads up if they see a patch on Pacific. So, thank you.
Are you done then?
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
My first one is to discuss the ordinance regarding traffic control and vehicles.
I could comment if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
That'd be great. I was gonna just read part of it.
That might be more interesting than what I have to say, but in any event, this is an ordinance that we prepared once upon a time in the village. The village board wanted to make sure that signs being posted around town for traffic control devices had board approval before they were placed in the village. That's a fine approach, and one way that the village did that was by incorporating certain plans and sign plans into their code. Over the years, more and more plans kept getting incorporated in the code. and it started to get a little bit unwieldy. And the most recent amendment, the codifier went ahead and adopted a whole lot more than was supposed to be codified in the Code of Ordinances. So this amendment is designed to clean up what the codifier did, and also to kind of streamline the code, get the approved plans out of the actual Code of Ordinances, and have those be approved separately by resolution, so you don't have to amend your code all the time. So this will hopefully make things a bit simpler. It will also make sure that the required traffic studies and investigations are done, as always, to support the signs that are placed where necessary, but also kind of allow the Public Works to post signs of like general traffic control devices, specifically snow, just kind of those not needing signs not needing specific locations or traffic investigations for posting. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
How can the codifier approve and put something in there that we did not pass?
Because the ordinance that we passed this is my assumption, passed an entire study attached to it, and I'm assuming they came from the study? No?
No,
That was my best guess.
the part of the ordinance said that, like, codify this, and they didn't follow the direction.
They did the same thing on the utility side, we ended up with
It
a
is.
bunch of stuff that
It-
wasn't in there
Can
originally.
we get a refund from them?
It
Because they're
does-
not cheap.
It does happen on occasion. They add things that they think need to be in there that should not be, or they remove something that they don't feel should be in there. This is how we've come up with a few of the ordinances we've had to pass over the last couple of years to kind of put things back in order. And part of it is they do send, well, except for this last scenario, in 2017, when I had turned all the ordinances in, they did send me a draft to verify that everything was right. I didn't get one this year, but I guess.
This is the first one of these that I've seen.
Yeah, either way, this all stemmed because I did ask him to give Fergie more or the Public Works Supervisor, i.e. Fergie at the moment, more authority in the snow removal.
Sorry, we wanna put up the sign.
She didn't tell you yet.
In,
Closed
in,
session. Closed session's on the
within the
agenda.
subdivision.
You just didn't know it.
for the snow removal, not parking your car
Yeah, but we need
after
to be
2
able,
inches of snow, right?
yeah, and we want to be able to give Fergie that authority to do so. And then the other one, as Dan said, is just cleaning up the mess.
I mean, the actual resolution.
Yeah.
Got
It'd
it.
be Bob stop signs.
Right, so nothing's changed in the resolution, to be clear. This is just, taking them, they're being repealed, because they're being taken out of the code, but they're being reapproved by this resolution.
We try to keep as much as we can in the resolution.
I'm sorry, I read over the resolution, but does this also allow us to remove stop signs that are unnecessary? I just wanna know if that's.
That's why I said these are Bob stop signs.
If the
Alright.
stop sign is on the map, it has to be there.
All right,
Right,
all right, that's
so,
what I wanted to-
There is a method to remove them,
That's fine, I don't wanna remove any, I just
Yeah.
wanted to know.
like the ones at Junction and Harvest Glen.
the stop signs, I think, need to be supported by the village engineer study, and I think that's what's there.
Don't
Doesn't matter,
start
'cause
that.
people
Yeah,
don't use
please
them
don't.
anyway.
Right. I
That's
think we
my
should
fault.
put optional stop.
Stop taking.
John,
Um,
did you get one?
my next thing is, the discussion of the overtime from Willett Hoffman. You know anything about that?
The
No, I'm sorry, William.
I'm like.
Just what you discussed last week.
Well, just, Willett Hoffman came back, actually Corey came back and told me that it had to do with the fact that we changed, the date that we needed to have the bids out by. And that's why they charge us the overtime?
Yes, okay, that was the
Let me find his email.
construction, that was, no,
Oh.
no, that was the, we didn't change the date, they
Did they provide the wrong?
Corey, I think, was here that night, and we told them that we needed the bids here opening by the, I think it was the 23rd,
Yeah.
22nd. We needed it the morning of our Tuesday meeting so that we could have it for budget numbers. He did it for bid opening the Wednesday, the next day. So the week afterwards, when Matt Hanson was here, we addressed it, even though we told Corey we needed the bid openings on that Tuesday. When he put the notice out in the papers, he put it for the Wednesday, and then that didn't work for our budget information.
You know what, you're right, 'cause I called you on Sunday.
Yes, so then they had to go back in and file an amendment, and then crunch the packet to get it put out in time.
That
So,
makes it even worse then, 'cause then their screw-up caused overtime that we're paying for.
Why is that
That's
overtime?
basically what
that's
we're
my
saying.
understanding, if that's the scenario you're referencing, or he's referencing.
That's what he's saying, that's.
I'm not on
what-
those emails if that's what you're asking me.
Well, I'll be happy to forward it to you, but as far as I'm concerned, that's what he said. He said because we changed the date that we needed to have it by, that then they had to come in and fix all their stuff, so that we could have it by the 23rd of April.
So if Sandy could check the minutes from that
And
day,
then they
that,
charge us overtime for
Yeah.
the person who was an hourly person for them,
okay.
for us to pay his overtime, which isn't
We
a ton
probably-
of money, but do we have a policy or anything on approving of the overtime before they charge us or spend the money on our behalf? Did we not have,
We have a contract with them pay their services, but
but
Well, we
that may be
probably-
very well true, but we should have a policy on whether or not we're.
Well, at least he was forthcoming with the overtime, he could've just made it a bill and not even referenced overtime, and we would, if it wouldn't have said
Either way, I
overtime,
think we should
yeah.
take what knowledge we have of this incident and send it to Matt and say, we should ask for this to be stricken from the bill.
well, we need to check our,
If,
Double
Our
check.
minutes.
right,
I'll
make sure what our history is, and
I'll
if our
agree with
history
the
supports
guy
what
for
we
that, to make
believe,
sure that is the same
then we
amount.
shouldn't be paying for their error.
correct.
If it's
That would've
not their
been-
error, then,
Because that would've been on
Right,
Cory.
then it's on us.
But if it is, even if it's on us, before people just charge us with overtime, which for the most part, service companies. that
The only time that I believe we're ever charged overtime would be when the inspection services, when he's here watching the contractors work. If the contractors work past their 40-hour,
But he's a salaried person, is he not?
for Willett Hoffman, yeah.
Well, that's, Willett Hoffman's response to me was that salary people don't get paid overtime.
Oh, no.
In fact, they-
Oh,
he's
I'm not sure if the
salaried.
no, they may not be salaried.
No, he's not, I don't think. But
All right.
that's the only time I
But
believe I
I
recall
still think we should be
them.
approving that, somebody should be approving that. I'm saying that I believe that the finance trustee should approve any overtime that we pay.
You don't want that.
Why not?
I think he does want that.
I do want that. I like that.
I'm just saying, somebody should approve it, that they didn't ask me, they didn't ask you.
But through the years, I don't know that we've paid a lot of overtime.
I don't-
We'll avoid paying any if it isn't legit, right? You're
Oh,
going to-
definitely.
You're gonna know it up front. I'm signing
Then I don't know.
I'm signing the invoice to pay for it, and I'm questioning it, so somebody should be approving it. It's just me.
And
It was a good catch. If it is the scenario that we think, that's on them, as long as our material and our documents support that. I would request that correction, but
Absolutely.
I don't believe we typically get charged overtime from Little Hoffman. Unless
Sandy
it's
will look into it.
I was gonna say, if you're
former
gonna.
Luke, whatever his name is.
Right, the only concern I would have is if you're gonna go do that or whatever, be sure you distinguish between engineering services and inspection services, because it's hard to approve I mean, there's times when the inspector works overtime. Whether we pay for that, I don't know how that works, I'm not sure, but just keep that in the back of your head.
And I think honestly, Chris,
Did that bill last week say what it was for, Chris?
No, well, it tells you what
Project.
it told me it was for, Plat 10 Phase 2, but it doesn't exactly tell you what it's for.
It was all of them, because they had to amend all the projects that were going to bid.
Right, it was 10 hours of overtime, but
So, I'll get you the information on that. On a side note though, I honestly think if we asked Willett Hoffman to notify, or to
They will.
notify William before overtime, they would.
all right. I have a couple other issues with Willett Hoffman, they sent out a letter to all the residents for Plat 10, Phase 2. And the letter doesn't mention anything about driveway extensions, which I'm not sure. Are we offering driveway extensions or are we not? Anybody know that?
Extensions for what?
The-
I don't know what
the
you're
three
talking
car?
about.
Yeah, because we have three
Widening?
residents who are now gonna have their driveways extended through us, using Martin as the contractor, and we're really hiring Martin to extend their driveways, and we've gotten the funds from the individuals to pay for it.
Similar concept to the asphalt driveway, they would tell us how much it's worth. We'd pay the contractor. In this case, though, it's the reverse of that. They tell us how much that driveway extension is worth, and then they paid us, same as we did last year for the other project.
I always recall us giving the contractor the credit for that asphalt
Right.
plant section. And the homeowners
That way it
dealt
puts
and
it off on them,
negotiated
not on us.
Well,
with them.
they do that
Homeowners
too.
should not be giving us money.
They do that too, and the idea of us actually,
Yeah.
contracting with Martin to do that is that we have control over, any of the ditch improvements, so that when we put our concrete bottoms in the ditches, that it meets whatever our specifications are, and it would seem to make it easier. I have issues with it because it puts liability on us, and I don't like the liability on us.
That's why I don't
Right.
think we've ever
Well,
done it
we've
that
always
way.
given a credit.
Well,
Yeah, this is not our first year doing it.
but to me, going forward, I don't wanna do it this way anymore. I want them to do it the same way that if somebody wanted to get their entire driveway replaced and or extended, then they contract with somebody, they have them do the work, and we have our
We will give you
engineers.
credit for our portion.
Well, we'll give you credit for our portion, but we'll have our engineers check to make sure that everything's, the way it has to be for the drainage. In fact, my house is that way. I'm getting my entire driveway replaced and extended at the same time, and I contracted with an outside contractor to do that. It still affects the ditch, even though I don't have a culvert. It's still gonna affect the project. I just think that it takes the liability off the village. If somebody doesn't like something, now, it is mitigated on the fact there is a year warranty from Martin to us. But the problem is, if it goes beyond that,
I think I can answer this. I remember going both ways on this one. So early on, we always said the homeowner handles it on their own. Well, then they did. So then the contractor came in, did all the road work, and they were out of here mid-July. Come September, we've got driveways that aren't done and paved because homeowners went with another company. And so then, on top of that, the contract that we have with the contractor can't come back and do ditch work because that homeowner hasn't got their driveway done or their pipe side, the culvert side done. I remember having this conversation too. I don't like us doing it either, but
well,
Marshall, the two Eagles.
I don't know. What's our liability exposure from the attorneys?
I'm not familiar with this arrangement. Sounds like it's been, reviewed in the past, maybe David
Well,
can counter
it's gonna be both ways. The problem is if Martin doesn't wanna replace somebody's entire driveway. So if somebody wants to get their driveway, and maybe it's all the contractors, because this happened in the past apparently. They don't wanna replace somebody's entire driveway. So if they wanna get their entire driveway replaced, plus extended, then it still can't be whoever's doing it, or it couldn't be Martin or whoever has done it in the past. So what's the difference if one person or two people can have an outside person do it or somebody else? I mean, you're setting the terms conditions that they have to have it done in, but it takes the liability off of the village. Because, I mean, even if you get a year warranty, can somebody not come back in 2 years and say, oh, it wasn't done properly,
they do.
and they come, right,
They do.
and they come to the village instead of whoever the contractor is. And that I have an issue with. And I think in the future that we should just have people, and I don't care if they contract with Martin to do it, and Martin does it, but they have the agreement or contract with Martin and we don't. And that way it meets both their terms.
contractor?
You know, it's, go ahead.
So I thought.
It's a lose-lose for us either way.
Cause the ditch, I agree with you, the ditch work's what's gonna suffer in the back end, and you won't have that finished.
Go ahead.
Okay, so a couple things to keep in mind. If we take the, and like I said, that doesn't matter to me how we do it. We started doing what we're doing, so we have ultimate control over how the widenings go, how it ties into the ditch, the flow line, everything else. Just keep in mind when you're making your decision, if you do not do this during the project and you bring ABC contractor in to go ahead and do the widening after the project, that could be at any point in time. We have paid the price for that, like William said. We paid the price for that in the past, kind of one of the reasons why we went this direction. We need to have our engineer on site during the project, not a come and look at it afterwards, because we have a specific set of, certain type of backfill, compaction. There's certain things that go into that is monitored during the project. Who is gonna be responsible, so when the sod is torn up and, the sod is replaced, who's watering that? Because the contract waterings are all done and over with, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Is the homeowner gonna water it? Can we force the homeowner to water it? Does the village have to water it? So there's a lot of things that go into this, so just, like I said, when you're making your decision,
But
keep
you would
some of those.
you would have those same problems with somebody who wanted to replace their whole driveway and have an extension. It would still be that you would still have the same issue.
Right, but during the contract, though, that's all covered under the work. So, for example, if you widen your driveway during the contract, the sod's done, everything's done, that's all figured into the landscaping, the restoration work,
Right.
all that.
But, I mean, we didn't even offer people in the letter
Okay, that, I'm
to
not familiar with that,
to
Chris, so.
extend
Okay.
their driveway.
Understood.
So,
Understood.
I don't know how many houses 12 houses are affected or whatever,
Yeah.
in this particular
Right.
plot. We didn't even offer it to people. So
Okay.
people could come back a year or two later, do the same thing, and you would still have the same problem, except for that you wouldn't have the engineers on site to inspect to make sure.
Right.
All you have to do is tell them that if they're going to extend their
Right.
driveway, that they have to do it while the project's going on. And
Correct.
But-
You
but
can,
if
somebody
they-
can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
if they chose to do it a year from now,
Yes.
we'd still allow that, right?
No, you're absolutely correct. What we're doing is, it's just, okay, we're here doing a street project. If you want to do it now, it's a great time to do it because, you pay the money, but the work's all done, everything's, the sod's watered, the concrete's poured, it's all,
Right.
happy days.
Oh, it's absolutely cheaper. And if I
Yeah,
was the
exactly.
person, I'd love it this way too. Are you kidding me? They're
And that's just kind of what we do. We know that anybody can decide to widen their driveway, and we're not trying to stop anybody from doing that. It's a convenient time if you want to do it. That's
Right.
kind of how it came about.
And my only concern is the liability going
Mhm.
forward with the
Understand.
village. And
The issue with, offering the widening,
extension. Call it an extension because that's what they call it.
Right.
I call it a widening, because
All right.
that's, you're not actually
Don't
any
have to go
length.
into the road.
Yeah, but, I'm gonna guess they had issues with bidding and contractors bidding and awarding the bids and pricing, because you don't know the open-ended, how many people were gonna widen it or anything else.
But that's not even in the contract. I'm saying that if they,
Exactly,
if
so
they
that
do it
didn't want to
themselves, if the village person, not the village person, but if the, resident does it themselves, we don't have to worry about that. Right? If they're
They
doing
got,
it
they
during
gotta pull
our
a permit,
time,
they gotta pull a permit.
Permit for it.
Right.
that's all they have to do is get a permit. They don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah, they would, why wouldn't
They
they?
don't?
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. I did, but you don't have to, because we didn't charge them one, but everybody had to get a permit.
If you're doing work outside the scope of what our contract is, you have to get a permit. You're doing other work, other than what the village is paying for. Because we're doing the replacement up to the easement. If you're doing anything past that easement, you gotta get a permit for it.
Yeah, no, they're doing, but their extension of their driveway is past the easement.
So, hold on.
Oh, wait.
So they need
So-
a permit, they need a
They
permit.
did get a permit, however, permit fees are slightly different, because what
Correct.
their permit fee is the cost that Will and Hoffman gives us is the cost of that project.
Except for that doesn't include a permit fee or any inspection fee.
It would be an additional $25.
Yeah, it's,
But
But we did not charge that,
no.
because we didn't last year. We charged them simply what the extension is, because Willett Hoffman's already out on the project, they're already standing there, so we don't charge
I think we had
them.
conversations that we waive those fees for the driveway permits.
We do if they're paying for if it's a part of the project. If
Yes.
it's not a part of the project, you have to get a permit and pay Casper's permit fees.
Yes.
But see, it is a part of the project, it's just not entirely a part of the project. Even though you guys aren't paying for it, the Willett Hoffman still has to make sure whoever gets their driveway within the easement fixed, or replaced, or extended, still have to inspect it. We should have waived the fee for everybody, and that's how it should be going forward. If we're going to waive it for the people who actually, pay for it themselves, then it should be waived for anybody who gets their driveway replaced at that time. Willett Hoffman's there anyway, we're already paying them. I still don't think that we should
Well,
be.
And then-
again, that
then-
depends on whether they have it done right then or not.
Well, and then this board needs to give permission to Willett Hoffman to do the entire driveway inspection, because like your driveway will be inspected by somebody different than the other driveways. And so we're paying Casper, and Casper has to be reimbursed, and he's reimbursed by 80% of the permit fee, and so he's gotta charge something to get his money, whereas he's not looking at these other driveways, so he doesn't charge
That's true,
anything.
but Casper's not needed if Willett Hoffman's already there.
Well, then this board
Then we
needs to
have to-
pay Willett Hoffman then to inspect your driveway the entire
No,
length.
they don't
of it.
need to take care of mine, Casper will do it. I'm saying going
But-
forward,
But
whoever's
if
it
it's-
But
is.
if we're
But
asking
going
Willett
forward, we'd
Hoffman
have to
do
pay
it-
Willett Hoffman to inspect those full driveways.
And they wouldn't know
But
which
you,
ones are
are, you're not
going
pay,
in.
are we already paying them to inspect the additional portion of the people who are getting the extensions? Because it's not all, no,
Just paying
it's
them
part
to
of it's
inspect
on
the
their
easement
property,
to the
it's the
road.
same thing.
They're probably checking flow, but
They're getting paid to check from the easement to the road, that's what, they don't know how many people are gonna widen their driveway, so how would
If
they
you
know,
choose to
they wouldn't know.
Redo your driveway,
But-
they're not paid to.
So we're just doing it as a courtesy is what we're doing, just,
But so you're saying, but we're responsible for it. So they have to be checking the entire amount that they do, which part of it is on their property. Do you see what I'm saying?
you're saying we could
We should
possibly
be
be
also
held
getting
responsible.
easements, right? Isn't that what they did in the past?
I'd have to
Only
look
where they're
on
needed.
that. Yeah, well, unfortunately, so when they do the driveway extension, a portion of it does go outside of the right.
No, I get your point, we're signing off on something we didn't inspect, is what
But
you're
it's a
saying.
No, what I'm saying
It
is,
is.
Are you saying the widening, Sandy?
Huh?
Are you saying the widening
Yeah.
doesn't go out of the right of way?
But
Still in the right of way.
either way, the
When they-
widening's the
when they put-
homeowner's
Yeah.
The
choice.
asphalt connects to the rest of the driveway. There's about a 5-foot portion that is outside of the right-of-way to connect the 2-car into the 3-car.
Where it curves
Oh,
down.
okay,
Where it curves
once
down.
again, we're talking widening extensions, I didn't know
Yeah.
which, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, either
That
way,
falls
that's
in the
still,
right of way.
it's still the homeowner's choice at that point in
Yes,
time.
correct.
It
So you
is.
don't have to get an easement from them if they're the ones
Given
making
them
the
permission to go on
Right.
that.
I'm just going by what
Mm-hmm.
is said in
Okay.
in an
I
email
would-
from the
Yeah.
past.
I would still say if it's something that's caused by the project, which is the end of the driveway, we covered. If it's something where you decide to go further and do the whole driveway on your own with a different contractor, you pay the permit.
Well, the only reason why I couldn't use Martin is because they didn't want to do the entire thing. In which case, if they were willing to do the entire thing, I also wouldn't be paying a permit. I've already paid my permit fee, I'm not asking for a refund. What I'm saying is anybody who does it in the future should, if no one else is going to pay for a permit fee, who gets a driveway extension, somebody who gets a driveway extension and their driveway replaced should also not have to pay for a permit fee. Because you're treating the people differently, and that's not right.
So maybe I'm not understanding, so like I have to clarify, and so I apologize that I'm not understanding. If there's some work that's in the scope of what we are doing with our thing, I understand that they don't have to pay a permit because we're deeming the work necessary. But if I choose as a homeowner to, at that time during that project, go ahead and redo my whole driveway, and maybe I wanna change from blacktop to concrete and whatever else, that's still my choice on that piece of it by my garage and all that other stuff.
Anybody
Then that
who-
would be my permit, I would have to do that.
But anybody who's choosing to extend their driveway is now also doing a change. The only difference that anybody here is arguing is that we're in control of it because we forced them to use Martin to get the extension on their driveway.
We didn't force them.
You know, we didn't.
Well, it was either Martin or nobody, right?
No, they could
You can go
out
find
and
anybody you
post
want.
You could find
whatever they
another-
want.
Well, so they could have still had somebody else because
Yeah.
I was under the impression that we were telling them they had to come through Martin.
No.
No,
No.
I'm not
No.
telling them
They
anything.
could've
So they
used-
could have got
yeah.
whoever they want.
Yeah.
Right, kind of.
Yeah, 'cause that-
Then why are we taking the liability period? Forget it, let's move along.
Can I ask one question? Because I'm a little
I'd love
confused
you
here.
to.
If we don't, and to answer my question, if we don't going forward charge anybody a building permit fee, outside of a project, like you're saying, Chris, who inspects it?
I think he's only talking about during the.
No, after the project, Billy. If a homeowner wants to,
Casper would inspect it.
but
Then
don't
we
the
gotta
building permit fees pay Casper?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Casper
So
will
who's gonna
inspect
inspect
for
it?
free.
Casper would inspect.
Because I doubt Casper's gonna go do it for free, so I'm
I'm only
confused.
saying
I don't
during
know.
the project. I'm only saying when we're doing a road project, if somebody takes that opportunity to replace their drive or extend their drive, or extend and replace their
Okay.
drive, that we waive the permit fee because Willett Hoffman is
Okay,
already.
then I'm sorry, I was
So then-
confused. I thought you
but then
said
Willett
any time in the
But
future,
then
so.
Willett Hoffman's doing the inspection, not Casper.
Yes,
Okay.
aren't they doing the
But-
inspection on the rest that
But,
was
so
replaced?
like the part that I'm, and it's not
Sure
that
they-
I'm arguing the fact, the part that I'm not understanding is, in our, quote, we're paying Willett Hoffman to inspect the part of our plan. If you get your driveway done, that's not part of our plan. So if Willett Hoffman inspects that, that's gonna have to be an additional cost.
Well, I think his point is that
No.
he's saying if somebody's widening from a 2-car to 3-car, but only within that easement area, that's getting inspected as well for free.
Right.
It is,
Oh, so
because
I'm
Willett
thinking you're
Hoffman's
talking
already
about
there.
getting a whole
No,
new
no.
driveway.
I am.
He is, but he's trying to say that if we're widening from 2 cars to 3 cars, we're covering the inspection as part of the project. Whereas if somebody, and that's an option, somebody opted to have that 3rd car added. Where if somebody opts to redo the whole driveway, we're not covering that inspection.
Right.
And
We're
I'm
not.
saying, not only that, I opted to extend my driveway and get the entire thing
But
repaved.
I still think it has to
So
do that
then
it's
you
all
would
within
have
the
to pay a
easement.
permit fee for that, because our plan did not include that.
I did.
Right, so
But
everybody else should have to as well.
Well, wouldn't everybody who got their driveway extended have to pay a permit fee?
If it's not part of the scope and sequence of the project, yes.
So they would,
Well, it's partly it is and partly it isn't.
what you're arguing is a $25 permit fee. Because the rest of the rest
And a
of
little
the
bit of
permit
driveway
fee
out of
is
the
Casper's
easement.
inspection, which
I
they
don't
wouldn't
understand,
pay, so it'd be a
why is it a
$25
problem
permit fee.
waiving the $60 fee for somebody so that Willett Hoffman, who's already there, already getting paid to do it, we're probably not paying anything extra.
They're not getting paid to inspect
No.
your additional driveway, they're getting paid to inspect from the easement to the road, period. This little section here, or whether it's a whole driveway, they weren't paid to do that.
But they're
It's just being offered as a courtesy, so.
I got that, but they're also inspecting whoever's driveway
I-
from the park.
Somebody's always gonna inspect it, whether it's Willett Hoffman or Casper.
Somebody's-
Somebody's gonna make that charge.
Right.
Somebody's going to get.
Right, but are we
paid.
not paying Willett Hoffman to be there anyway?
They would be there an extra 15 minutes to inspect your driveway up to your house. So yes, we would pay extra for that. So therefore, you need a permit.
All right, well then why does the people who are getting the extension, who's also not covered, the whole thing's not covered in the easement, not have to pay?
I don't know why they're not paying.
They're getting a little
I'm saying
5-foot
either
section
charge-
over to the side.
Either
That's
charge
Willett Hoffman.
everybody or charge nobody.
Because it's part of the easement.
Oh, so you're arguing about that little piece of the pie that's 5 foot by 2 foot?
Well, I think
No.
it's beyond that.
I'm
It's the whole-
arguing
The
that-
whole
He's
3rd
not.
car extension that he's arguing.
Yes,
The whole 3rd car extension is being inspected by the project.
Outside
Where,
the easement.
and that was not part of the original scope,
Nope.
original project.
Nope.
It was an addition added on. I understand what he's
and
arguing.
we'll be paying for
I
that.
don't necessarily agree, but I understand what you're arguing.
So
I
I
understand
think
what
the
you're
solution to that would be that Willett Hoffman needs to be putting their estimated engineering fees in the estimate that the people are paying when they come in to pay. Because then way everybody's paying for inspections, whether you're a part of the project or
I
not.
can go with that too.
Okay.
I
For the
want
entire
everybody,
driveway?
I want
That'd be
everybody
easier.
to be treated the same,
So
that's all I'm
then,
asking.
so
Makes
then,
more sense.
so then next year, I will just ask Willett Hoffman when they give us the quote for those
Yep.
extending by the contractor to also make sure that they've included their portion of the inspection of that area so that everybody is paying inspection.
There you go, that works for me.
Okay.
Move on.
Only takes too long to get to that.
Utilities, Dina?
Want everybody to be treated the same.
Brett has something,
Crane rental.
and I think that's about
Busy
it.
man tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
The man.
Sorry. Okay, so, just a heads up, the VFD will be going in tomorrow morning, so everyone's aware, everyone remembers that, right, William?
Quincy Drive.
Yes.
Okay. That will be going in tomorrow. And, I got a little bit of information, about removing the cover on the ditch. I met up with Creative Crane, right up the road here on 251. Had, the owner stop out. Basically, it's real simple. It's $225 an hour for the crane, and it's $100 a day for the man basket to be in there and work. No idea how long it'll take if we can get that cover out of there in a day, 2 days. Basically, it was just him come down, look at the job. Yes, it's doable. This is the dollar amount per hour. Because what we may want to do if we do go down this road and we do this, is while the crane is there, we need to finish cleaning off, the last couple aerators. So, and we don't have a way to get out there. There's no walkways to get on to do this. You climb out on the aerators like we've discussed in the past. We've covered this many times. So anyway, this was basically just to give you an update that I did talk with Creative Crane. It's really about the only way we can think to do it.
Do you think it could be done in a day?
I would not figure a day.
Okay,
I would not figure a day.
okay.
I figure worst case scenario, well, I shouldn't say that. Remove the cover, clean the aerators. I would hope we could get everything done in 3 days.
Okay.
I would hope, but I don't know how well these covers are gonna come off.
So you're looking at about $5,400,
Yeah.
give or take.
Yes. So, anyway, just wanted to give everybody an update. I told them I would do a little research and find out.
And I did have, so I haven't heard back from Matt yet, but we put out there the 27th for Matt to work with Brett and I about, the rate study, to look at that as well, but then also that a couple of the options are dependent a little bit on Rolling Meadows as well, so just a little heads up on everybody, so that's coming into conversation. And Matt's also gonna help us determine, when you go through the study itself, like how many years, like, the water tower painting that, like, that lasts this many years. He's gonna go through and identify with us how many years each thing lasts, so we have an idea of how old it is, how many years it lasts, so we can kind of indicate as we're going through the study what we need to do. Just heads up. That's it, that's all I have.
All right, so we'll move on to the unfinished business, Rolling Meadows Water. I spoke with Ken Hawk. He is pretty much under the mindset of, he'd like to be billed strictly off 1 meter for the entire park. I don't mind that, 'cause I like the idea that it's a business. So at the border of that business, we put a water meter and we bill his business accordingly to that water. Understand that he will have to charge his residents on top of that, because he has to cover his infrastructure. I personally don't think we have enough removal of infrastructure on our end to really lower the cost, because we are still pumping it out of the ground, we are still treating it, we're still pumping it into the tower, and we're still delivering it all the way over to the wastewater plant area, in our infrastructure that we still have to maintain. So trying to draw part of our infrastructure out of that is not, you're not gonna draw much of it out if you draw any part of our recovery for infrastructure. Our water rates are pretty low. I think Dean's gonna propose, as she said, the rate studies. I would really like to get Rolling Meadows on our water, sooner the better. We've all seen the videos and the pictures from the community pages, that show what state sometimes the water is in out there. Not that it's unsafe, but that it's not very appealing. So we will be going down the road of figuring that out soon. Commercial rate typically for a business commercial, I think Dean and I were discussing this, is $4.50. She thinks industrial might be $5.50.
I think industrial was $5.50.
But commercial is what he should fall under, because he's a, business. Also, we'd have to amend the ordinance to allow him to resell water, which we've discussed before, but I did think of something I brought up to Dan today, was that we wanna make sure there's a clause in there that he cannot resell bulk water.
Dan,
It would strictly be for residential use only.
and what we are.
that way we don't
Has that in there.
Have somebody selling our water off.
Yeah, okay.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so like, one of the things that I was concerned about, and it's not necessarily something that is, I don't even think there's a way to word it to put it into whatever contract we have with him or whatever agreement we work out with him, but you had mentioned the videos of the water and the things that are put out there, and us not knowing what his system is like, once it comes past the meter from us. I'm just, I don't know what the right wording is, somewhat concerned when we go through this. Let's say the water still ends up being what it looks like because of his system. My concern is I'd like to know what he's gonna do on his end to notify, like, so when water gets shut off out there, the first thing we don't see is out there blasted on Facebook about the village shutting them off. I wanna know what he publicly is going to share with his residents that are our residents as well, that if you're shut off, it's because Hawk Homes is shutting you off, not the village. If your water quality is what you've had in the past with regards to your pipes and whatever else is out there that we don't know anything about, the quality of the water that we release to you is this content. I'm concerned that
Right.
once it gets past our meter, or when he shuts them off, their impression of having village water is going to be that it's all us. You follow what I'm saying?
We'd be pushing very clean water into piping that's between 40 and 50 years old. There's a lot of sediment in that pipe, and one of the reasons there is a lot of sediment in that pipe is he's never been able to really do a good flushing program. He doesn't have the water capability for it. With our water, he would be able to start flushing, so he could start cleaning up that water. How long it would take, I don't know how much sediment's in those pipes. So it could take a lot, I mean, it depends on how aggressive he is at flushing, I guess. If he wants to get out there and start flushing, but I agree with you, that people need to know that we bill Hawk Homes.
I need to know that he's educating
Right.
everybody out there, because the first thing that goes wrong out there, the backlash to the village
Oh, sure.
and being able to control that is gonna be insane.
Because if his pipe breaks in his mobile home park, people are gonna think, well, the village isn't helping.
Right.
Or
It's
if the
not our
water
point
gets shut
there.
off, well, they shut us off again, why do you,
And that's
we
something
didn't shut you off.
That's something we fought from when Jeff Hart owned it, when we were talking about connecting out there, is we didn't wanna take over the water system out there, number one, due to the age, number two, because all the pipes run underneath the homes. They're not run out in front of the streets, they're not out where they should be, where you can get access to them. And we've already had one incident out there on one of the homes right along the main road going to the wastewater plant, where we did some work and then the home settled, and we had to pay to have that house reset. Don't wanna run into that again.
Well, and they need to know the quality of the water, as it stands.
Right.
I don't know what is causing what they see out there currently, nobody does. So, that's a concern, and, you already.
I have a feeling a lot of what they see is just due to what's actually suspended in the water they're pumping. The only time that they should really see a mass migration of sediment is the same here, is when you get a leak and you get a lot of water flowing. You're gonna break that sediment loose and it's gonna start flowing to the house. But I can't guarantee that. I don't know how much, if did we ever do a pressure reducing valve? So right now, if we turn that on, we're gonna be putting 90 pounds of pressure into a system that has been running 50 to 60, whatever they're running out there for 40 years.
And he'd have to know that he's responsible for all of that.
It is. I
In
mean,
his
that's
system.
100% his responsibility.
Because my concern is about getting the good water to them, but at the same time, what he does or does not share with them is a concern as well.
It was one of the suggestions, again, we made all the way back with Mr. Hart, was that we put in a pressure reducing valve, just to be able to bring it down, and then over time slowly bring it up, rather than just introduce that pressure now.
Blow it all out.
Well, and I think, that's about as far as we
Because,
go on the last.
his
That's where we
argument
stopped.
was always that,
That's where
my
we stopped.
system has handled, 100 pounds of pressure when something goes wrong, but it's not 24/7, 365, it's 100 pounds of pressure he might run up to for a couple hours when something went wrong. And it was always a difficult conversation. You don't wanna insult the person saying, your system can't handle what we're throwing at it, but at the same time, the pressure is reality. So, it is a work in progress. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, on the rates and stuff as we get into the rate discussion later on, because like she said, a lot of the rates are dependent upon,
Because,
Hawk Homes.
Yeah, when we
service.
talk about this more, like, as we get into it, and Brett and I were talking about it on Friday, as we get into more of it, the better plan, this is just IMO, there's a tiered, like, graduated, plan for introducing the rates and changes and whatnot, but the problem is that is dependent upon, us doing the bulk water with Rolling Meadows, which, you know, that changes things as well. And I think the other thing we talked about, like, this is way back when, but, when we talked about Hawk Homes and doing the bulk sales to him and whatnot, I don't know, like, if we can do the discounted, rate, and if we did, the only way I would think that he should be able to do it at that point, if we're talking about the money of which it costs us to get the water out there, could talk about doing something where it's not a net 30, like, you know, here's the water bill, it's due on the 25th. It could be okay, you want the discount, then net 10, and here you go. Or,
Do we even know what he charges his residents out there?
I have never gotten a straight answer on that. no.
Wasn't there discussion of limiting how much he could charge over and above?
Well,
our-
we did talk about that,
There
where
was.
it can't be more than the rate of which we
Because
charge our
the one
residents.
thing, the one
That's
thing
in
he's,
there.
the one thing he's
Oh,
gotta
it's
realize,
in there? Okay.
But I don't think that's,
the one thing we've still gotta, he's gotta add something to whatever we charge him, because he's gotta cover his.
No, I know, I thought it was limited though, how much he could charge.
We never came to an
That's
agreement.
still up
That's
into,
still one of
that's
my
still not into
stipulations.
agreement, so.
Mhm.
We never
I-
came to a dollar.
I guess
Where the
the best thing is,
discussion
I think
had
we're
been.
all on the same page that we want a single meter, and then how he meters his people, what equipment he uses, is all on him, because that's all his equipment, it's all his infrastructure.
but again,
We're
that's
billing
the
off
part
the
that
one
he
meter.
needs to be able to, I wanna know that he's gonna, share that with his residents.
'Cause, I mean,
It is not the village charging them the rate that he's gonna charge them.
And you have to look, you almost have to look at Hawk Homes as, if you look at it as Subway up here. Once that water hits the building, how the piping goes inside belongs to the building owner. It's just that he has homes within his business, and once it hits his property, the piping within his business is his.
Subway knows that, but do the residents?
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
right, and that's something, it's just education.
Well, we can
So
always
get it.
mail our own correspondence to all those individuals as well, once the deal's
As long as that's something
finalized.
that we can, yeah,
And you-
legally,
Yeah.
yes.
That
I'd
way
be
it spells it
much-
right out,
yeah.
once we get closer to whatever we're doing.
Because that would be something that verbiage, that would be great, yeah.
Wonderful.
So on that note,
No, just one bit.
I'm a firm believer that our property, or our system stops at either the valve or the meter, and the reduction equipment that needs to get reduced down is his cost, 'cause
I agree.
Because we have to do that for
Well,
his
I've-
system, not because, yeah,
Yep.
the reduction valve that I've,
but that's
the
where.
pricing I'd heard was in the tens of thousands of dollars. I don't see why we gotta foot that bill. Two, we do need to make sure that there's a limit on what he's charging above and beyond, because I don't want him to gouge the residents, first of all. Second of all, I'm concerned that if we do allow him to charge on top of our water, is he actually putting that money aside for infrastructure
No, it
repair?
isn't.
Or, you know, he charges above and beyond for 5 years and has X amount of dollars, and then there's a water main break in his property, and he says, well, I can't fix it.
Well,
But you've just been charging above and beyond our service. So those are my.
I don't know if we're gonna be able
Cornered.
to mandate that he keep that into a separate fund,
No.
but if it's there, you know, we at least have the grounds to say, you've been charging for this, you should have the money to fix it.
Because I don't wanna get backed into a
And
corner
I
where
don't,
here
I
we
don't
are.
think, I don't think money out there is an issue. I mean, you look at what they're paying in lot rent, and the number of houses out there, it's a
And
lot of
the
money flowing out there.
Next to nothing in taxes they pay for all those units.
Right.
Repairing it and
So,
You know how-
garden hose.
all right, so keep that in mind, think about that on the rates. Just remember that we still, our infrastructure is still in place, and we don't make enough off money, off water and sewer now to even do our sinking fund that we should have in place. So, trying to reduce the rates even further is almost a non-starter on.
Well, originally, when we talked about that, that was essentially so he wouldn't have the rates higher than our residents.
Right.
And if that's not the case, you know, I'm cautious.
Okay. Mosquito spraying, last Thursday night, we had,
We'll talk.
what?
We can talk about that part, but we
All right, we'll go through the details later. Met with, Becky Waltrip from Stillman at the mayor's dinner. She's okay with the price, so we're still working out the details on the intergovernmental agreement, to move forward with the mosquito spraying next door. Sandy has, or somebody has been talking to our eastern neighbors, at least putting it out there, that,
Fergie.
that we do it, so.
Nice, well
That might be an
done.
option, so.
The
Well
bug-
done.
The nice thing about the products we use is they are, you know,
No.
what, sugar-based, is that correct? Non-toxic, contact kill. And then, so Becky liked that. She would also like the idea that once we figure out what we're doing for a larva, or larva control, program,
Yes.
that they would be interested in looking at that as well, something that their people could do rather than us, but we spray, they would throw their own larva stuff.
Mhm.
So they're very interested in that as well. It was a good meeting. I sent, William, did you got the stuff about, or did you guys already know about the motor fuel tax?
Oh, yeah.
That was gonna come up 50%, and then, not just that they're increasing it, but our portion's gonna, I'm gonna throw my pen at you.
Original cookie.
Local distributors.
Lucky you're not bleeding.
Yeah, I'd have
It's getting
to
late.
pay for it.
So yeah, they'd be interested. We'll see how that goes. With the motor fuel tax, what was the other one?
Local distributive funds.
Distributive fund, yeah. So that one, they're saying it'll probably go up, but not much.
David
back to where
mentioned
it
last
normally
week,
was.
the video gaming, they're gonna allow additional machines.
Video gaming's going to 6, large truck stops that sell over 50,000 gallons of diesel can go to 10.
20,
It was 10.
I heard 20.
That was, the IML guy said 10.
Kansas Link said 20.
They also said the state's taking a bigger cut of it, though.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that. Anything Pritzker can do to fill his pockets. Sidewalks, anybody think anything new on that?
No, working on it, pending.
Anything further from the board members?
I do. Last week, you guys had asked, to see what the proposed plan from long ago was for our property on 72. It is against the wall over there. I made a side note. Keep in mind, it is from 2007. It is somebody else's plans, but I did haul it down from upstairs for everybody.
Just give you an idea what would fit between 72 and the tracks. You know, that's kind of why I wanted it drug down, was that, to give you a view.
You guys can take a look and talk to amongst yourselves in an open meeting.
Okay, we're gonna go to we're gonna go to public, but to speak in public, you don't have to tell us who you are, but you do need to use a microphone, or the clerk will come out and chase you around the room.
I don't know that. Is it on?
It
Can one of you
appears to
maybe
be
bring-
on.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Anybody that'd like to speak for public, we're open. This is a really long meeting so far.
It is. We get a lot done again.
We did.
You can take it off, then you can hold it down.
It doesn't really bother.
Oh,
This is a short thing, and I know there's like 10 minutes left.
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
we
you're
don't.
fine.
We have
Oh.
time limit.
Yeah, no worries.
Tonight I am here without my employer's name tag, but rather as a citizen of DeKalb County. The topic of cyberbullying is not new. It is a widespread epidemic throughout our country. It is something that takes courage to report, especially when it happens to you. It is one of those things that you see on the news and in magazines that happens always in other towns and always to other people, until it happens to you. I'm not here in any capacity regarding my current employer, but just as a human being. This is an epidemic that has spread through our country since the beginning of social media. Excuses can be made regarding freedom of speech and who was to be moderating areas of cyberspace when these incidents arise in our generation. It is very easy to turn a blind eye when you witness someone being attacked, defamed, or bullied online. It is the easiest way to do it since you're not face-to-face with the person. You are free to load up a group on social media and attack someone's character, personality, etc., because we have free will in this country, but does that make it right? If cyberbullying is so widespread in this country, when does it stop? If you see someone being targeted on social media, it can take very little effort to try to help. If you've chosen to be a moderator in an area of the internet, then perhaps moderate it better. Cases of this type arise in this country at an alarming rate, but can we continue to turn a blind eye to it when we see it? These are just some things to think about each time we enter into a social media platform. The challenge and responsibility when doing so is hypothetically treat others as you would yourself. If you see someone being attacked in cyberspace, keep in mind that there is a real person and a real reputation at stake. It's easy to gossip in small towns, especially to log on to social media. However, at times we may lose sight of the fact that the person being bullied is, in fact, a fellow human who, quite possibly, was undeserving. We are in a day and age when turning a blind eye to cyberbullying is no longer acceptable. In towns, villages, big and small, recent current events have compelled me to speak up on the topic. As a frequent visitor to this community, granted I do not reside here, I'm just relaying that this is a current issue facing our entire country at the moment. I realize it cannot be resolved overnight. Hopefully with some awareness, there may be long-term solutions ahead, whether it is shuttering the areas of social media where it is currently taking place, or moderators of those places on the internet to simply do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like.
Thank you for speaking. I do have a question though. So I currently oversee all of the village's social media accounts. Is there something currently happening on a village social media site that I'm unaware of?
Not on official.
Okay. Then, because you didn't speak into the mic, I'll repeat it for the video and the audio. He did state that it's not an official village site. I just wanted to make sure if something does happen on an official village site, just let me know.
Junior, you have anything? I just gotta give him crap.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I live at 165 Autumnwood Lane, and I have some issues with water in my yard. And I'm the lowest house in that subdivision on Autumnwood. And I have all these other houses above me, and I get all their water. And the village has and their easements down in the ditches. Their property is high, mine is low, and the water goes nowhere but in my property. My sump pump runs, and I understand everybody's sump pump runs all the time, but I've had landscapers out there, I've had different people, I've had the Department of Conservation out there to look at my problem. I called Rick on an occasion in February. I took pictures. This
You said
year-
165, I'm sorry.
165 Autumnwood Lane. And, this year, because of the water, and I understand that the rain and everything, but last year was the same thing. We have a fire hydrant that's probably 6 houses away from me that's underwater. So if you have a fire, where are you gonna put the hoses? Okay, that was my concern. And, then when you go in down the ditches, my neighbor has their ditches up like this, my neighbor has their ditches up like this, and I catch this water, plus I have all the water behind me, because everybody has their downspouts running towards my property. They're not buried. There's no ordinance on it, I guess. And, another thing I have complaints about is all the garbage cans out in front of everybody's houses. You know, it looks tacky. People come to look at houses for sale, and they say, is this the way that people live? Isn't there an ordinance on garbage cans? It should be put away.
What do you mean in front of
Well,
the
they set in front of everybody sets their garbage cans in front of their houses all week. I
You
know
mean in
that-
front of the garage doors?
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
Like Love's Park has an ordinance, you're not allowed to keep your garbage cans in sight, from the street.
Yeah, but then there's people who have,
Right,
like,
but
I have
the other
one on
day
the
I-
side of my house, but you'd still be able to see it from the street, it's not in my driveway.
Well, I told somebody about a house out here, and she's like, everybody's got their garbage can out in front of their house. It looks tacky, you know, and it's like, it's hard, you can't put them out in the street before, 4 o'clock on the day, but they're out there. They're still out there. They're still out
No,
there.
you could put them out anytime, they have to be out
No,
before
I
6
understand
o'clock.
that, but what I'm saying, you're saying that they can't go to the.
So you're saying you take the water from behind you?
I take the water from
Eaves had to be,
Dr. Flynn's house, I take the water on the left of Dr. Flynn's house, I take the water on the right of Dr. Flynn's house.
Eaves had to,
Then my neighbor next door on the left of me, they're down, they're sub pump and all their, downspouts come towards my house. And my neighbor next, on the right of me, he has his buried, but when they put them ditches in, they covered up my downspouts. I've only been there 3 years. My father was there for all these years, and he talked about it with the problem before, and nobody ever did anything. He said, you can't do nothing with it. But, so if you go right where the line is on that property between the two houses, if you just stand back by the tree, and you look like this, it goes like this. It goes like this. And then up here, when it gets where the water turnoff valve is, it's high. Where's it gonna go? And then my ditches are full of water, because I get everybody's from here and here, and plus where my mailbox is, you can't put flowers there, and if you go by there every day, you'll see where the water erodes right down in there, because the road is taken right down in there. And if you come over when it rains, you can look at it and see. So, I mean, I've, yeah,
Okay.
That's what I was.
I need the village to come over there and clean out their park, so I can get my park cleaned out. But also, in the backyard, between the two houses, I have an ice skating rink. In the wintertime, because if you go back in my backyard when it's raining, and the water, I have the water up to here in my backyard when I put my foot in there, okay? So that when you're standing there, you hear the water going, shoo, shoo, almost like a sinister. And I've complained about it, but they say there's nothing that can be done, so, here I am. You know, and I've talked with you about it.
Did you ever end up running your sump pump line between the houses and getting it away from the house, like we spoke?
My sub pump,
You were recirculating the same water, remember we discussed this?
I understand.
And then I also discussed that with your father several years ago, same thing, and he agreed with me? Yes.
That is buried now.
Okay, and then you've got it running out in between the two houses and down into the ditch?
Down into my downspout, which
Okay.
goes out to the street, which I
That's
dug out
open.
myself.
Okay,
But you
That's
gotta come
old.
out there and clean it out.
What?
It's old.
You gotta
Oh, it
come-
is.
You gotta get the high ditches out of there.
the high ditch, the
Because
street
my house-
ditches or between the houses?
No. You know about it. You know.
No, I'm asking you, ma'am, between the houses, you wanted the village, or if you remember correctly,
No, I didn't wanna use, hold on, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
all right,
Is it,
When the water comes all on my property in the back, where's it gonna go? When I get everybody's water, their houses are higher than mine. I need a ditch, just like these concrete ditches you're putting behind people's houses. You know, you need to put a ditch right down the side of my house.
Needs to be a swale
like
right
you
here.
have down over on,
Well,
I
need to look.
There is no easement there for that.
That's not a waterway.
It's not a waterway.
I didn't realize that this conversation would be up tonight, so I didn't look for the plans, both the
That's okay.
topographical
That's
and the easements and the plan of survey, so,
That's okay, it's
if I
right
can
there,
have,
it's right there, you can see.
if I can have an opportunity to see what's underlying what's on there, I can bring it back to the board next week and stick it in your board packet, so that perhaps a better conversation as to what's
Understand where it's.
underneath there, what easements are in there, what way the water's supposed to be flowing.
yeah, get that put together for us, please.
Yes.
Yeah, but see, that's an old picture, you don't even
It is.
have,
You
you
don't
don't
have
even have any
the
of
curves.
that in there, and it's just like, you know, I can't go out there and dig that ground down, because I can only go so far, because if I go on your property, you
Was-
know, I
was the-
maintain it, but it's your property.
Was the ground always like that then, or?
No, the ground has eroded like that. I mean, you know, this water comes, you know, he's saying the sub pump, you know, I understand what you're saying about the sub pump. But I've taken that sub pump out this way, ran it out towards the street, but it can't go any farther, because your property is up here and mine's down here.
But I'm saying, what I was
So it works
asking,
its way back and it keets rotating, and it's eroding over
Wait,
15 years.
which property are you saying is our property?
yeah, I'm not
Easement
sure.
past the water meter, right? That's your
The fire
water meter
hydrant?
that's in the ground?
You're saying your yard is lower than the ditch?
Yep. Thank you. Yeah.
And has it been that way, is what I was asking, has it always been that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
When they put that in, we have the downspout out to the,
I don't even know where.
the ditch, okay? When I came there 3 years ago,
Right there.
the guy, I kept saying to the guy, I said, why do I have all this water? He said, well, maybe your downspouts aren't buried, or maybe it got broke. It's not broke, because I took the water hose and stuck them down in each downspout. And it ran out to the street. Couldn't find it, and because we could see it getting wet, so I went out there with the shovel and I dug it out where they covered it all up. They covered up the hole that goes out from my house to the ditch. So you can go out there now and I dig it, and I go out there and dig it all the time, so it'll stay clear.
So it got covered up when we redid the road? Got it.
So is this higher here than the backyard?
That's what I was trying to ask her, because if you remember right, ma'am, when I came out there and we talked about the sump pump,
This
you
looks-
were claiming that the property between your house and your neighbor's garage right there, it was our responsibility to grade that.
No, that's not my problem, that's not my problem. That has already been taken down. It's over on the other side of the house. Right between my house and Tom's house. Right there. Get right in the middle there, okay, come out, and it's high, right? Correct. It's high, right there. I have no
In between the houses?
Yep.
In between your property
All
and
you have
his?
to do is come back to
It
my
looks like
house.
looks like there's a swale between the houses.
You can see
That's why I
the
said
swale where the
Yeah,
water
stuff like
runs.
this, and my,
But that's
my
old.
yard's like
Yep,
this,
pull
it's
the
all-
information, let's see what we've got. We should have the topographical, so from,
None of the property in between your house and his belongs to the village, though.
Well, I'm not talking about that.
All right.
It's not my property that's high, it's your property. It's where the water meter is in the street, in your yard. Okay, and how much of an easement past that,
The water shut-off valve?
the water shut-off valve?
All right, thanks.
All right, so you go there. So the rest of it, my whole front yard, all the way along, is high,
Towards
Okay.
the street.
but in the middle of that, those two houses, it goes down like this. But then when you get out there, you go down like this, and then when it starts with the village property, it comes up like this. So where's the water to go? It comes back and then erodes back into the property. And it sits back there, and it's a swimming pool. It's a swimming pool. When I have water up here in the wintertime, I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Well, anything past
It
the
has
easement,
nowhere to go.
so the grade on your property is not the village's, I don't wanna say problem and being sensitive about it, but the grade on your property, whether it comes in towards your house or away, that's something that you have to maintain as a property owner.
If I
Once
go
it
over
gets
there
to
and
the-
I get a grader and I grade right down to your ditch, what are you gonna say?
well, it has to be,
You would need to
it has
bring
be the
yours
ditch-
up to
the ditch
match our
profile.
You're
I mean-
supposed to have a crown on your property, from your house out.
The
Well, and it
But
looks
the
like you
crown
do.
that's there is high. Is high. It doesn't match.
What he's saying is it should crown from your house out.
Out, yeah.
It should always go down and away from your house. You're saying out here somewhere, there's a high spot in this swale.
Yeah. If you go down and you just walk all the ditches, if you walk the ditches and you look, I mean, it's not hard to see. Over here, the house on this, where the trailer is, their ditch is high. Okay, so you come underneath the driveway, you go to my ditch, and it gets low. Then, you get to this house over here, go over here to this house, right here, see where that ditch hole is? That goes high. And I'm sitting here like this, and I'm sitting
You're saying
here
the
like this.
distance, you're saying the ditch here is deeper because the house is set higher. So this is a bigger distance from the driveway down.
There's more grass on this place, right?
Then
And
from-
that between the
from
two
here to here.
mailboxes, she's saying is higher.
So, but also keep in mind, an open ditch system is not designed to move water out. It's to flow, but it's also to absorb. So that, the whole,
Well,
it
you
should be
can't
absorbing
absorb
some.
it. You can't absorb, I'm supposed to absorb all the water without one
No.
higher than.
Well, and the other thing, one thing
That's
too.
what I've been doing
Yeah,
over
but-
15 years.
One thing too is to watch is on the downspouts. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it's 2 feet. You have to be within your own property within 2 feet of discharge. So if your neighbors, if your neighbors have their downspouts within 2 feet of the property line, then it's a statutory violation, because it's a state, stormwater discharge. But if their downspouts are aimed in your house's direction, but within their property, there's nothing we can do about changing that. What you have to look at is probably look at getting that side of your lot landscaped where you get that water to flow into the ditch. Why it's holding in the ditch, was it only holding water in the ditch when it's wintertime? Or was it when it's raining like we have recently?
Or because it's so saturated.
It sits in all your ditches, from down around the corner. The water sits there, the water sits there, the water sits there. The water sits all the way down Autumnwood.
Okay, and that's part of what William was getting to with part of the open ditch system is that you control the water by you limit the size of the pipe determines how much water flows out. You can restrict the water so you're not creating mass erosion at some point down the line, or flash flooding. You control how fast that water goes off by the size of those pipes. They're designed in heavy rainfalls to hold water.
Right, okay, and right there by my mailbox, I have water that goes down from the street. And you can you can stand there in the street and you can see. Or you can come to my house and you can look at the plants that I put there, and you can't keep any dirt around there because it erodes out.
Mine's the exact same way.
Yeah, I know,
You
but,
go-
so I can just go ahead and just clean out the lot and don't worry about it, right? Because that's what you're saying.
No,
You're telling me you
they're,
don't have
they're
any
saying
problem.
build up yours so that it flows down into the ditch, not
on
clean
somebody
out ours.
Well, then, if I have to throw dirt in there, then what am I gonna do with the people up in front, behind me, that have all their downspouts towards the back of their property?
Well, that's just it. You get it to where it goes through that swale out into the ditch and it takes it out through the ditch.
Right, so when you come in my backyard,
Your
you're
neighbors
like
to
this,
put it up to
and
their
you're
ditch.
looking at this. My backyard starts from here, and it eroded out, and it came out this way. Because of all the water that the people bring into my property. I can't even keep seed.
Have you asked your neighbors to take their downspouts out to their ditch behind you? Like,
There's not really.
You guys don't have an ordinance on it. There's no ordinance.
I didn't ask if we had an
No,
ordinance.
there's
I asked,
not.
did you ask your neighbors if they would be willing to take their downspouts out to their ditch as opposed to in your backyard?
No, they won't. Why should they do that?
We did that to ours. I mean, some
Well, I
people just
understand that,
having a
but The
conversation.
neighbors, you
To be neighborly?
you
It's
can't
just a
be
conversation.
neighborly, I mean, you can ask them.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
right.
what I'm saying, like, that's all
That's what
I'm
I'm
asking.
Say, well,
It doesn't
if you
hurt to
want it
ask.
done, you pay for it.
Well, I'm just saying, that's why I'm asking you, did you ask them?
And your response could be, I'll build a berm so the water stays on their property and floods
I
theirs.
built a berm in my backyard. I built a berm in my backyard already, so I could not get rid of that erosion in the backyard. I'm gonna build a bigger berm.
Actually, you can't.
If I
You
just
can't
build,
build a
I'm
berm,
gonna
but
build it all the way up.
You can't build a berm.
I'll pull the
Let's
plat
let's
and
find out
maybe
what we have
Courtney and I
first.
can find some photos or something. We'll put something together for the packet next
You don't
week.
wanna
But
build
I mean,
you don't wanna build a berm and keep the water in your yard. Then you really will have an ice skating rink. I mean, you wanna be able to, that water
I already have one
to,
now, bring your skates. to
no,
play.
no, I
You
don't
know?
skate.
I mean,
Too old for that.
yeah,
But-
but anyways, I mean, I told Rick to come and look at it, how it was. I mean, my neighbor even says, he don't even let his kids out, because, I mean, in the summertime, it's gonna rain again, and
Well, in fairness, we have had 10 inches of rain in about 40 days, and
It's been
I have,
saturated.
in my backyard, I have standing water too.
But you know what, last year we had the same thing. I have the same thing. I've been there for years. I have standing water.
But when you get that much rain, you're gonna end up having some standing water. I'm just saying.
Yeah, last
Your
year was
your
exceedingly
expectations
wet
have
as
to be
well.
somewhere reasonable.
Well, let us do that. Let us pull the documents. Let's see what we have for elevations and such.
Well, they just
So
need
it's
to
not
come and
changed.
walk the property, and you
Yeah.
can see it.
Hey, I'll do
Well,
that.
the
I'll-
landscapers there, and they sit
I'll
there
pull
and
the
they
stuff.
tell me this is the problem. But they say they can only go so far. They can't go here because it's the village. And then, if the village isn't gonna let me bring it down, then why am I gonna pay all the money to have it done? What am I gonna do? Put 35 loads of dirt in there to bring the land up like this?
Look,
Well, you're
Ricky and I
telling
see
me
if
I
we can
should
put
bring it
something
up.
together for
Okay.
the
So
packet.
for easement, that's all.
All right, so we'll get back to you with it once we figure out what we have. Thank you.
Standing rock.
Anything further from public? Anything further from the committee members?
Yes, so this
You again?
quasi-public. Yes, I sent William and Rick an email. I just want everybody to know Verizon's whistling again. I have an audio we can all listen to later.
That's okay, I believe you.
But they were out there, right?
Have we put the brackets up yet?
They've already come and gone.
The duct tape got wet.
I don't
We
know.
have had a lot of rain, just saying.
Anything further?
Motion to
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to adjourn. Chris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Never is.
We are adjourned at